There is no text on this page. Copyright 2014 Jerry L. Tennant, all rights reserved. ISBN 1508500072-X, ISBN 13-9781508500728. Author's note: I write books and give lectures intended to help people restore their health. I am a physician, not an English major. To my surprise, people call and email me to let me know I misused a comma on page X in my book. Those good intentions simply take away time I would normally use to figure out a better way for people to get healthy. To my dismay, I spend more time formatting a book than I do writing it. To me, that seems like a waste of time. I hire professional editors to do the copy editing, but there are still mistakes or they change the meaning of what I wrote. Apparently there are people that sat around a desk and decided the proper way to use commas, capitalization, etc. so they could sell books on proper punctuation. For example, I was taught in the 1940s that if a series of words were a special phrase, you would enclose such words in quotation marks as I did in the last sentence with proper punctuation. I was then taught that a period meant that you had reached the end of that sentence. If a phrase preceded the period still went at the end of the sentence. However, now someone has decided that the period goes before the closing phrase quotation mark. That makes absolutely no sense, but it sells books for those that make these rules and creates an industry for English majors that get paid hundreds of dollars to move commas around and change the meaning of what those of us that aren't English majors write. Grammar Tips says, now, keep in mind that this comma and period inside the quotation marks business is strictly American usage. The British don't do it that way. They are inclined to place commas and periods logically rather than conventionally, depending on whether the punctuation belongs to the quotation or to the sentence that contains the quotation, just as we do with question marks and exclamation points. I paid the editors at Crete eSpace, a subsidiary of Amazon, several $100s to edit this book. I accepted their edits even though I think it is harder to read than the way I wrote it. For example, they made the headings the same font size and capitalization as the sentences that follow. They also removed some of the bullets from lists. The Chicago Manual of Style says 6.124 Vertical lists. Punctuation and format. A vertical list is best introduced by a complete grammatical sentence, followed by a colon, but see 6.125. Items carry no closing punctuation unless they consist of complete sentences. If the items are numbered, a period follows the numeral and each item begins with a capital letter. When items in a numbered list consist of very long sentences, or of several sentences, and the list does not require typographic prominence, the items may be set in regular text style as numbered paragraphs, with only the first line indented, punctuated as normal prose. To avoid long, skinny lists, short items may be arranged in 2 or more columns. If items run over a line, the second and subsequent lines are usually indented, flush, and hang style, also called hanging indentation, as used in bibliographies and indexes. In a numbered or bulleted list, run-over lines are aligned with the first word following the numeral or bullet. An alternative to indenting run-over lines is to insert extra space between the items. So it isn't clear to me why they removed some of the bullets, but remember that I'm not an English major. I'm just a physician. So if you find errors and think that book titles should be underlined instead of italicized, you will need to discuss that with the editors, not with me. So please don't write or call me to tell me that I used a comma incorrectly. If this book helps you get well, I have achieved my goal. Finally, remember that by the time this book is published, I will be 75 years old, only I must not say 75, numbers less than 100 are supposed to be typed out, I'll be 75. So please make allowances for my impending senility. Jerry Tennant, MD, MD, H, PSCD. www.tennantinstitute.com. Table of Contents. 1. What is acupuncture? 2 Acupuncture muscle batteries. 3 Atlas of muscle batteries. 4 Nakatani and Val points, Jinshin. 5 Causes of low voltage. 6 Tenant biomodulator registered and lateral bioterminals registered. 7 Nutrition. Notice, this book is written for members and prospective members of Tenant Institute, a private expressive association, by its director, Jerry Tennant, MD, MD, H, PSCD. Tennant Institute for Pastoral Medicine is an ecclesiastical private expressive association, as defined by law, and is under the direction of Jerry Tennant, MD, MD, H, PSCD, a pastoral health practitioner and counselor. Under this appointment, Dr. Tennant is an ordained minister and chaplain who ministers to the sick and suffering under international law, and under Texas statute seconds 503.054, 2. Reading this book implies that the participant has given an acknowledgement of rights noted above and others recognized by law, and asserts First and Ninth Amendment rights. Participation means, I voluntarily license Jerry Tennant, MD, MD, H, PSCD, to counsel me in his role as a pastoral health practitioner and counselor. Tennant Institute is a private expressive association registered with the IRS that fulfills all the legal requirements of a private expressive association. Legal notice: the information provided in this book is intended to educate the reader about certain medical conditions and certain possible solutions. It is not a substitute for examination, diagnosis, and medical care provided by a licensed and qualified health professional. If you believe you, your child, or someone you know suffers from the conditions described herein, please see your health care provider. Do not attempt to treat yourself, your child, or anyone else without proper medical supervision. Disclaimer of liability: the materials in the book are provided to you as is, without warranty of any kind, either expressed or implied, including, but not limited to, the implied warranties of merchantability, fitness for a particular purpose, or non-infringement. In no event shall Jerry Tennant, his staff, heirs, assigns, the Pastoral Medical Association, or the Tennant Institute or its associates or employees be liable for any damages or incidental damages or damages for loss of profits, revenue, use, or data, whether brought in contract or tort, arising out of or connected with this book or the use, reliance upon, or performance of any material contained in or accessed from this book or our website. Your reading of this book implies that you agree to the release of liability noted above. There is no text on this page. Acupuncture muscle batteries. You are going to find the next few pages confusing. Please don't stop reading. I am including these pages so you will understand what the current teachings about acupuncture are. It is against this background that I will propose a new theory of acupuncture that I think you will find much easier to understand and useful in clinical practice and in each individual's understanding of health and disease. What is acupuncture? This question is hundreds of years old. Few can agree on the answer. Elizabeth Renee, Taoism expert, says, acupuncture, one of the principal therapies used in Chinese medicine, involves the insertion of hair, thin needles, at an average depth of 1/4 to 1/2 inch, into specific points along energy channels called meridians. The insertion of the acupuncture needles at these specific points supports a balanced flow of qi, life, force, energy, through the meridians. When the qi is flowing in this balanced way, the body/mind is able to regain, maintain, and improve its health and vitality. According to Chinese medicine, it is a blockage or imbalance in the flow of qi that is the root cause of disease. When the qi associated with a particular organ system is in a condition of excess, deficiency, or stagnation, negative emotional states such as fear, anxiety, anger, sadness, or worry tend to manifest. If left unresolved, this imbalanced emotional energy will begin to produce physical symptoms. Similarly, if one of the 5 shen, spirits, of the organs is disturbed, the energetic imbalance produced by this disturbance will also, in time, manifest as physical disease. There is no text on this page. By affecting the flow of qi through the meridian system in specific ways, acupuncture is able to resolve spiritual and emotional imbalances before they manifest as physical disease. For an acupuncturist, this is considered to be the highest form of practice, to detect imbalance at these more subtle levels, before they become physical diseases. If the disease process has already made its way into the physical body, acupuncture is able to alleviate its symptoms by resolving the energetic imbalances that are its root cause. From Wikipedia, we find, acupuncture, from Latin, acus, needle, plus punctura, to puncture, is the stimulation of specific acupuncture points along the skin of the body involving various methods such as penetration by thin needles or the application of heat, pressure, or laser light. Clinical practice varies depending on the country. Traditional acupuncture involves needle insertion, moxibustion, and cupping therapy. It is a form of alternative medicine and a key component of traditional Chinese medicine, TCM. According to TCM, stimulating specific acupuncture points corrects imbalances in the flow of qi through channels known as meridians. The TCM theory and practice are not based upon scientific knowledge. Acupuncture aims to treat a range of conditions, though is most commonly used for pain relief. Acupuncture is rarely used alone but rather as an adjunct to other treatment modalities. Any evidence on the effectiveness of acupuncture is variable and inconsistent for all conditions. An overview of high-quality Cochrane reviews suggested that acupuncture may alleviate some, but not all, kinds of pain. A systematic review of systematic reviews found that for reducing pain, real acupuncture was no better than sham acupuncture and concluded that there is little evidence that acupuncture is an effective treatment for reducing pain. Although minimally invasive, the puncturing of the skin with acupuncture needles poses problems when designing trials that adequately control for placebo effects. Some of the research results suggest acupuncture can alleviate pain, but others consistently suggest that acupuncture's effects are mainly due to placebo. The evidence suggests that short-term treatment with acupuncture does not produce long-term benefits. A meta-review concluded that the analgesic effect of acupuncture seemed to lack clinical relevance and could not be clearly distinguished from bias. Wikipedia: the meridian system, also called channel network, is a traditional Chinese medicine belief about a path through which the life energy known as qi flows. The meridian network is typically divided into two categories: the jingmei or meridian channels and the luomei or associated vessels, sometimes called collaterals. The jingmei contain the 12 tendinomuscular meridians, the 12 divergent meridians, the 12 principal meridians, the 8 extraordinary vessels, as well as the Huido channel, a set of bilateral points on the lower back whose discovery is attributed to a famous physician in ancient China. The collaterals contain 15 major arteries that connect the 12 principal meridians in various ways, in addition to the interaction with their associated internal organs and other related internal structures. The collateral system also incorporates a branching expanse of capillary-like vessels which spread throughout the body, namely in the 12 cutaneous regions, as well as emanating from each point on the principal meridians. If one counts the number of unique points on each meridian, the total comes to 361, although 365 is usually used since it coincides with the number of days in a year. Note that this method ignores the fact that the bulk of acupoints are bilateral, making the actual total 670. There are about 400 acupuncture points, not counting bilateral points twice, most of which are situated along the major 20 pathways, i.e. 12 primary and 8 extraordinary channels. However, by the 2nd century CE, 649 acupuncture points were recognized. Recognized in China, reckoned by counting bilateral points twice. 5-6 There are 12 principal meridians where each meridian corresponds to either a hollow or solid organ, interacting with it and extending along a particular extremity, i.e. arm or leg. There are also 8 extraordinary channels, two of which have their own sets of points, and the remaining ones connecting points on other channels. Wikipedia. The 12 standard meridians, also called principal meridians, are divided into yin and yang groups. The yin meridians of the arm are lung, heart, and pericardium. The yang meridians of the arm are large intestine, small intestine, and triple burner. The yin meridians of the leg are spleen, kidney, and liver. The yang meridians of the leg are stomach, bladder, and gallbladder. If you are like I was when I first began to study acupuncture, you're probably confused. Then it gets worse. Again from Wikipedia, we get the following: Sanjiao is a term found in traditional Chinese medicine, TCM, as part of modeling the workings of the human body attempted by early Chinese medical writers. References to it can be found in the oldest Chinese medical texts available, including the Yellow Emperor's Huangdi Nei Zheng. The identification of disease according to the three burners was first described in the Qing dynasty by Wu Jutong 1758-1836, in his book A Systematic Identification of Febrile Diseases. This system is used within the practice of Chinese herbal medicine, in conjunction with acupuncture and other Chinese medicine, TCM, modalities. Note that the Sanjiao theory differs slightly from the Sanjiao organ, or channel, Xiao Yang, Sanjiao Jing, referred to additionally as triple heater, Sanjiao, and triple burner. Viewed by Chinese medicine as the passage of heat and fluid throughout the body, Elementary Questions, Su Wen, explains, the triple burner holds the office of the sluices, it manifests as the waterways. The system is often combined with four stages theory when diagnosing and treating an externally contracted disease caused by a wind, heat pathogen. The disease will be diagnosed and understood according to its location within the three burners. Sanjiao has been translated as triple heater, triple warmer, or three warmers, and triple burner, the latter of which is probably favored because of the involvement of the Sanjiao in metabolism. The current World Health Organization standard term is triple energizer, TE, but many authors still prefer to use Sanjiao. There is no organ in Western medicine that corresponds to Sanjiao, but the triple burner is said to occupy the thoracic and abdominal, pelvic cavities, triple warmer upper jiao, middle jiao, lower jiao, upper jiao. The upper jiao refers to the upper part of the body, and includes the heart, lung, and pericardium organs. The pericardium is the corresponding internal organ of the triple burner, for the purpose of acupuncture only *. Patterns that affect the upper burner include wind, heat invading the lungs. Symptoms include fever, aversion to cold, headache, sore throat, red and swollen tonsils, red tip on tongue, floating, rapid pulse. Heat in the lungs. Symptoms include fever, sweating, cough, asthma, thirst, red tongue with yellow coat, rapid pulse. Heat in the pericardium. Symptoms include fever, delirium, aphasia, burning feeling in epigastrium, cold limbs, dark red tongue with no coat, fine, rapid pulse. Middle jiao. The middle jiao refers to the midsection of the body and includes the spleen, stomach, gallbladder, and liver organs. Heat in yang ming. Symptoms include high fever, profuse sweating, constipation, large thirst, irritability or delirium, red tongue with dry yellow coat, deep and full pulse. The yang ming pattern is often referred to as the four bigs: big fever, big sweat, big thirst, big pulse. Damp, heat invading the spleen. Symptoms include aversion to cold, low fever in the afternoon, feeling of heaviness, nausea, vomiting, red puffy tongue with a yellow, sticky coat, slippery and rapid pulse. Lower jiao. The lower jiao refers to the lower section of the body and includes the small and large intestines, the kidneys, and the urinary bladder. Lower jiao pattern. Symptoms include low grade fever in the afternoon, hot palms and solace, also called five-palm heat, dry mouth, convulsions, deep, red tongue with no coat, fine, rapid pulse. Other Zhang Fu organs were not included in the Sanjiao model. The hand channel of Sanjiao Shaoyang is so called because of its generalized effects across the Sanjiao. Sanjiao is not an organ. In fact, many Zhangfu organ translations do not directly correspond with their defined Western organ. They more often refer to systems or functions within the body, and are useful to describe the flow of energy, which in turn helps prescribe therapy to disharmony. The Shaoyang channel is the second shallowest channel in the 6 divisions of channel theory, and its hand division Sanjiao starts at the fingernail of the ring finger, travels up the outside center of the hand and arm, encompasses the elbow, continues to the back of the acromio, clavicular joint, part of the shoulder, meeting with the other yang channels at the junction of the 7th cervical and 1st thoracic vertebrae, GV, 14 Dazui, before traveling up the neck to behind the ear, encompassing the external ear and terminating at outer tip of the eyebrow. Aside from Weiguan, TE, 5, its point's most common clinical uses are for local problems. Relationships in TCM theory. The Sanjiao is a yang organ paired with the pericardium, Xin Bao, which is the yin organ associated with it. Yang, Fu, organs are typically hollow, whereas yin, Zhang, organs are more solid. The triple burner, however, is said to be primarily energetic and does not have a physical component, unlike all the other organs in TCM. In dissecting a body, one would not be able to find a structure that could be called the Sanjiao. The Sanjiao's hand, foot partner is Dan, gallbladder. Function. The Sanjiao is also said to be a metabolism mechanism similar to an old-fashioned water wheel that is turned by incoming water and creates energy for accomplishing a task, such as grinding grain in the case of the water wheel, or for metabolizing and digesting food in the case of the Sanjiao. The Sanjiao is closely associated with the spleen functions of transformation and transportation, particularly the metabolism of incoming food. The Sanjiao is also closely associated with the kidney's function in TCM. The Sanjiao, however, is not limited to one metabolism function as the spleen or kidneys are, but is a general metabolizer which can be applied to a variety of metabolism needs. This dual usage of Sanjiao to refer to a specific metabolic function and to refer to the areas of the body is a source of confusion, and care should be taken to make it explicit which is being referred to. Wuxing Sanjiao is related to the fire element of the Chinese 5 elements. Wikipedia authors note chronic disease occurs when you lose the ability to make new cells that work. In traditional acupuncture, there is no such thing as a brain, nervous system, or autonomic nervous system. It also seems obvious that something has been lost in translation. For example, pericardium meridian has nothing to do with the lining of the heart but rather is the same thing as the parasympathetic nervous system. In addition, the triple burner, triple heater, or Sanjiao meridian is the same thing as the sympathetic nervous system of Western medicine. Making sense of it all, this book is a follow up to Healing is Voltage, the handbook. In that book, I began to piece together various concepts of sickness and healing that started to create a new paradigm of medical care. It basically suggests that the body is constantly wearing itself out. We get new cells in the macula of the eye every 48 hours. The lining of the intestine is replaced every 3 days. Skin is replaced every 6 weeks. Your liver is replaced every 8 weeks. Your nervous system is replaced every 8 months, and so on. In addition, if we have injuries or infections, they damage cells as well. Thus, we have to continuously make new cells that work. That leads us to the question, what does it take to make new cells that work? Cells are designed to run in an environment of 25 millivolts, MV. However, it takes 50 MV to make a new cell. If you put a cell in a petri dish and place an electrode inside and outside the cell membrane, you'll measure 90 MV. However, cells in our bodies don't exist in a petri dish, but are designed to run in an environment of 25 MV. Thus, we have to have voltage, electrons, energy, chi, prana, whatever you wish to call it, to make cells work and to make new cells to keep the body repaired. In addition to voltage, you have to have the essential materials to make cells, and you have to deal with any toxins that are present that will damage cells as fast as you make them. Thus, we have to have voltage to keep our cells running and to make new ones. What is the source of that voltage? Traditional medicine acknowledges that there is voltage in the heart, electrocardiogram, brain, electroencephalogram, and muscles, electromyogram, but basically refuses to consider the paradigm that all cells need energy to work. Most physicians have it in the back of their minds that mitochondria use energy in the form of adenosine triphosphate, ATP, to make the chemistry of the cell work somehow, but since there is no blood test for ATP, it is far from the mind of daily practice in traditional medical care. My understanding of how voltage works in the body began to take shape as I read various books and studies about seemingly unrelated topics. When electrons are running through a conductor such as a copper wire, they are there or not. If the switch is on, you have an electron donor. If the switch is off, there are no electrons. However, a solution provides a different situation. The solution may be an electron donor or an electron stealer. One measures the voltage of the solution with a sophisticated voltmeter. By convention, if the solution is an electron donor, one puts a minus sign in front of the voltage. If, however, the solution is an electron stealer, one puts a plus sign in front of the voltage. For example, if your pH voltmeter measures plus 150 MV, it means that the solution is an electron stealer with 150 MV of stealing power. If your pH voltmeter measures 200 MV, it means that the solution is an electron donor with 200 MV of donating power. After measuring the voltage of the solution, one can convert that to a logarithmic scale called pH. A voltage of plus 400 MV is the same as a pH of 0. A voltage of 400 MV is the same as a pH of 14. A solution that is neither an electron donor, nor an electron stealer is called a pH of 7. With this understanding, one can see that a pH of 7.35 is the same as a voltage of 20 MV. A pH of 7.45 is the same as a voltage of 25 MV. Thus, we see that all cellular biology texts tell us that cells are designed to run between 20 and 25 MV of electron donor status. The following chart begins to help us understand the difference between electron donors and electron stealers as they relate to the human body. Electron stealer electron donor causes damage, can do work pH 0 to 6.9, pH 7.1 to 14, acidic, alkaline, free radical, antioxidant, positive pole, negative pole, destructive, constructive, spins left, spins right. Electron stealers cause damage, are a pH from 0 to 6.9, are acidic, are free radicals, are the positive pole, are destructive, and, at the atomic level, spin left. You will hear statements like, all disease occurs when you are acidic. What this is really saying is that all disease occurs when your voltage is low or in an electron stealer state. You will hear statements like, alkalize or die. What this means is that you must have electrons available to do work, or your cells will die. A free radical is a molecule that is missing electrons. It is like a mugger looking for someone's purse to steal. When a free radical steals electrons from the cell, it damages the cell. An antioxidant is a molecule capable of giving away electrons. Thus, when your mother says, eat your vegetables, she is saying that the vegetables contain electrons that are good for you. We maintain our health and heal primarily by making new cells. To make a new cell requires a voltage of 50 MV. Salivary and urinary pH are about 0.8 pH units less than cell pH. Salivary pH is a rough indicator of cellular voltage. Urinary pH is a rough indicator of the voltage in the fluids around cells. When normal, both should be 6.5. If you add 0.8 to 6.5, you get a pH of 7.3. This equates to 20 MV. There is no text on this page. Now let's consider my thumb. My thumb is running at a voltage of 25 MV. It is pink, feels fine, and works well. Now pretend I hit it with a hammer. The thumb is red, swollen, hot, and has a pulsing pain. It has automatically gone to 50 MV. This is necessary to make new cells that are needed to replace the ones I damaged with a hammer. At 50 MV, blood vessels dilate and dump raw materials such as proteins, carbohydrates, fats, vitamins, minerals, and others into the neighborhood. I need these raw materials to build new cells. I also need 50 MV to have the energy to turn these raw materials into new cells. As soon as I finish making enough cells to replace those I damaged with the hammer, my thumb goes back to 25 MV. It is normal, and I am happy. Now let's assume that I ran out of voltage before I was able to make enough new cells to replace those I injured with a hammer. My voltage dropped to 10 MV. Now I am stuck in chronic disease. I cannot heal unless I can make new cells. I cannot make new cells unless I have 50 MV and all the raw materials I need to make new cells. In chronic disease, my thumb hurts all the time, it is white, and doesn't work very well. Thus, we see that chronic disease is always defined by having low voltage. One cannot cure chronic disease without inserting enough electrons to achieve 50 MV. One must also have the raw materials necessary to make new cells and to eliminate the toxins or infections present that will damage the new cells. One can take all of the medications you like and do as much surgery as you like, but you will not heal unless you have 50 MV raw materials and a lack of toxins. Without the ability to achieve 50 MV and the necessary raw materials to make new cells, you cannot maintain your health, and you suffer aging and chronic disease. You also are unable to repair injuries, so they can also lead to chronic disease. You don't need drugs to heal. You need to make new cells that work to heal. To make good cells, you need voltage and a good diet. You also need to remove toxins from your body that damage cells and make you obese. Once one begins to understand that chronic disease and healing are controlled by voltage, one must ask the following questions: how do cells normally get voltage? How do cells store voltage? Why did my voltage drop enough to allow me to get sick? How do I measure the voltage of organs? What do I do when I find the voltage is low? There are several bad things that happen when voltage drops. The obvious one is that organs simply don't have enough horsepower to do their job. Another is that they don't have the energy to get rid of toxic waste, and it begins to accumulate. Remember that at 50 MV, there is a pulsing pain. When you have low voltage, it simply hurts all the time. Thus, pain is simply a symptom of abnormal voltage. You correct it by correcting the voltage. If you put a tube into a glass of water and began bubbling oxygen into the water, the amount of oxygen that will dissolve in the water is dictated by the voltage of the water. As voltage is raised, more oxygen will dissolve in water. However, as voltage drops, oxygen comes out of a solution and leaves the water. Our cells are 70% water. Thus, as voltage begins to drop in our cells, oxygen leaves the cells. This has serious consequences. Our cells contain a process for turning fatty acids into glucose. They are processed through a series of chemical reactions called the Krebs cycle. The end result is a rechargeable battery called ATP. As ATP provides electrons to keep the cell functioning, it becomes a discharged, rechargeable battery called adenosine diphosphate, ADP. When oxygen is available, for every unit of fatty acids run through the Krebs cycle, we create 38 molecules of ATP. However, if oxygen is unavailable, only 2 molecules of ATP are created for every unit of fatty acids. Thus, as voltage drops, and oxygen levels drop, our metabolism goes from 38 miles per gallon to 2 miles per gallon. It is very difficult for cells to have enough energy to function with such inefficient metabolism. Another problem of decreased oxygen is infections. Our bodies contain perhaps 1 trillion microorganisms. Most of these are inactive as long as oxygen is present. However, when oxygen levels drop, these bugs wake up. The first thing they want to do is have lunch. And they want to have you for lunch. Since these bugs don't have teeth, they must put out digestive enzymes to dissolve you so that they can acquire the nutrients from the cells. One of the problems has to do with these digestive enzymes. Let's assume that you have a Streptococcus bacterium having lunch on your tonsil. You, of course, recognize this as a sore, painful throat. We all know, however, that the digestive enzymes produced by these Streptococcus bacteria can enter our bloodstream and cause damage to our heart valves. They can also damage your joints. The same process can happen anywhere in the body. Let's assume you have low voltage in your gallbladder. This means that your gallbladder will hurt, have decreased oxygen, and inefficient metabolism, and have bugs having lunch on the gallbladder. The toxins produced by these bugs can enter the bloodstream and cause brain damage. You may have infections in your large intestine, in your sinuses, or other places causing damage and autoimmune problems. However, it is simply bugs having lunch because your voltage, and thus, your oxygen levels are low. I have seen a number of patients with a diagnosis of lupus. A blood test called the anti-nuclear antibodies, ANA, test is used to make the diagnosis of lupus. If you correct the voltages in such patients, their symptoms go away and their ANA test goes back to normal. As voltage continues to drop, it will go from an electron donor to electron stealer status. This is known as a change in polarity. When voltage drops to plus 30 MV, you have cancer. It is generally taught in Western medicine that the blood is sterile. This is because placing blood into a petri dish does not normally show growth. Generally speaking, only bacteria that have cell membranes reproduce in petri dishes. However, if you look at blood under a high-powered microscope without the blood stains or other chemicals, you will easily identify many microorganisms. These microorganisms do not have cell membranes. As voltage and oxygen levels drop, and as toxins build up in the system, you will see these organisms change from spherical, to rod-shaped, to yeast-like, and finally to fungus with hyphae. The association of finding fungal-like forms in the blood with the development of tumors was reported as long ago as 1840, and has continued to be reported ever since. Although most microbiologists and oncologists have generally denied the existence of these forms, the development of the German microscope known as the ergonom makes these denials no longer credible. This microscope is capable of 15,000 to 40,000 power, and allows one to see organisms in their live state. Please look at the videos at www.girafieldoptical.com. How do cells normally get voltage? There are many ways that the body is intended to get electrons. However, our modern culture has tended to eliminate most of these sources. The Earth is a large electromagnet. If you take the electrodes of a voltmeter and stick them into the dirt, you will measure voltage. An area of high voltage always causes electrons to flow to an area of low voltage. If your body has lower voltage than the Earth, walking barefoot on the dirt or grass will cause electrons to flow from the Earth into your body, recharging you. However, if you walk with shoes, this cannot occur. Water from the ground contains electrons. We call this alkaline water. However, when you place chlorine and fluoride into the water, it turns it into an electron stealer. Thus, every time we drink such water, it steals electrons from us. The water we should be drinking should contain electrons and be clean and free from toxins. Again, You can test your water to see if it is electron donor or electron stealer by simply placing the electrodes of the voltmeter into the water. If the voltmeter shows negative voltage, the water is an electron donor. If the voltmeter shows positive voltage, the water is an electron stealer. If you stick a voltmeter into a raw potato, you will measure voltage. However, if you bake a potato or freeze the potato and then insert the voltmeter, most of the voltage will be gone. Unprocessed food contains voltage. Once we process food, most of the voltage disappears. We are designed to eat unprocessed food so that it brings its own electrons with it. When you eat food that has been processed, your body must provide electrons from other sources to digest it. You can actually tell the quality of food, such as vegetables, by simply using a voltmeter to compare the voltage in one product versus another. Remember that voltage always moves from an area of higher voltage to an area of lower voltage. When my wife and I hug each other, there is obviously an emotional element. However, there is also an issue of pure physics. The one of us with the lower voltage will get a donation of electrons from the other one. As we continue to hug, soon we will be the same voltage. This process continues when any two living things touch. For example, if I hold a dog or cat, and I am lower voltage than the dog or cat, the animal will donate electrons to me. Then it will run outside, recharge itself, and bring me some more voltage. If I lean against a tree, the tree will donate voltage to me. Moving water is always an electron donor. Still water is an electron stealer. Thus, taking a shower will energize me, whereas taking a bath will make me tired. Swimming in the ocean will give you electrons, but swimming in a chlorinated pool will steal voltage from you. Moving air is an electron stealer. Thus, people often feel tired if they sleep under a fan. Riding in a convertible is great fun, but you are always tired when you get to your destination. If you take a voltmeter that measures in millivolts and hold it in the air inside your home, you will measure a small amount of voltage. Now take it outside. You will find there is much more voltage out in the sun. If you take a quartz crystal and squeeze it with a pair of pliers, it will emit electrons. This is called the piezoelectric effect. Our muscles are like piezoelectric crystals. Thus, when we exercise, our muscles create electrons. The muscles are also rechargeable batteries. The movement of our muscles recharges our muscle batteries. Exercise is a major way by which the body acquires electrons. There is a pump within the skull and continuing down the spine called the craniosacral pump. Each time this pump activates, it sends a surge of electrons through the body. Thus, you can see that the human is designed to get voltage primarily the way our grandparents got it. They worked out in the sun, drank water from a well, ate unprocessed foods, weren't afraid to touch the earth with their hands or feet, hugged their family, leaned against a tree or stood in moving water while they were fishing, and weren't afraid to stand in the rain. There is no text on this page. Common ways electrons are taken from the human body: acidic water, tap water, chlorinated water, fluoride, most bottled water, carbonated beverages, caffeinated beverages, pop, coffee, tea, alcoholic beverages, cooked food, processed food. Healers/doctors, when they touch their patients, they lose electrons to patients. Hugs, which transfer electrons from one person to another. Parent holding a sick child, child gets well quicker, but parent is left tired. Moving air, wind, air conditioning, fans, convertibles, and hair dryers. How do cells store electrons? Cell membranes are made up of opposing layers of fats called phospholipids. This unusual fat is made up of a ball with two legs. The ball is an electron conductor. The legs are insulators. Anytime an insulator separates two conductors, you have an electronic device called a capacitor. Capacitors are designed to store electrons. Thus, cell membranes serve as battery packs for the cells. There is no text on this page. Liquid crystals. Dr. Bruce Lipton has recently discovered that the cell membrane also serves as a liquid crystal. The molecules in solid things stay in one location. An example of a solid is a crystal. However, in liquids, the molecules move about. In some substances called liquid crystals, the molecules can move about, but act like solids. This means that liquid crystals are neither a solid nor a liquid. Thus, the name seems strange in that we are calling a solid a liquid when we say liquid crystal. We are basically saying liquid solid. Electric current and or temperature influence liquid crystals. Certain liquid crystals have elements that are twisted. When one applies electricity to these liquid crystals, they begin to unwind. One can use this characteristic to use them to either block the passage of light through them or allow the light to pass. This depends upon whether the elements are twisted or untwisted. The thing that determines whether the elements are twisted or untwisted can be anything from a magnetic field to a surface that has grooves in it. A liquid crystal display, LCD, is made with two plates of polarized glass, one in front and one in back. The back one is polarized 90 degrees from the front one. In between these two plates are filters coated with liquid crystals. The orientation of the crystals is aligned with or opposed to the passage of light depending upon the voltage applied. It is like having a rope with its fibers twisted tightly so light cannot pass down its length, or a rope with its fibers untwisted so that there are spaces between the fibers that allow light to pass down its length. The function is very much like a rotating diaphragm that opens or closes depending upon whether voltage is present or not. One can see that the phospholipids that make up a cell membrane have legs that can twist or untwist to permit light, or water, or other molecules to be blocked or pass through the cell membrane. They open and close depending upon the voltage applied. Semiconductors carbon, silicon, and germanium are elements that are called semiconductors. Each has 4 electrons in its outer shell. This allows each atom to attach the 4 other atoms in a nice crystalline structure called a lattice. The carbon lattice is called a diamond. Carbon, silicon, and germanium in their crystal state are electronic insulators. Because they do not have free electrons, all are bonded to each other, they insulate rather than conduct electricity. However, one can turn these insulators into semiconductors by adding impurities to the crystals. This process is called doping. As you can see in the graphic of a portion of the periodic table, carbon, silicon, and germanium are in a column. In the column next to them are nitrogen, phosphorus, and arsenic. To the left, the column contains boron, aluminum, and gallium. Arsenic and phosphorus each have 5 outer shell electrons. When you place one of them into a lattice of carbon, silicon, or germanium, each of them has 4 electrons, there is an extra electron per set of 4 atoms. This extra electron can move from place to place, turning the insulating crystal into a semiconductor that allows some electric current to flow through it. Since this semiconductor has a negative charge, it is called an N-type. If you add boron or gallium to a crystal of carbon, silicon, or germanium, you have a different kind of semiconductor. Since boron and gallium each have only 3 electrons in the outer shell, binding them to carbon, silicon, or gallium, each has 4 electrons, creates a hole in the latticework. This hole is searching for electrons and accepts electrons that wander by. This creates a positively charged semiconductor called a p-type semiconductor. Diodes. When you place a negative and a positive semiconductor against each other, you have what is called a diode. What is unique about a diode is that it allows electric current to flow in one direction but not the other. It is a one-way street for electric current, whereas conductors like copper allow the electric current to flow in either direction. When you put a voltage source like a battery, as you see in the left part of the graphic, the plus part of the battery attracts and holds the electrons from the negative N-type semiconductor, and the minus pole of the battery attracts and holds the holes in the positive p-type semiconductor. The result is that no current flows through the semiconductors. Devices that allow current to flow in one direction but not in the other direction are called diodes. If you change the battery to the configuration you see in the right side of the graphic, electrons flow from the battery into the N-type semiconductor and then into the holes of the P-type semiconductor, with the net effect that current is flowing through the diode. Transistors: if you use 3 elements instead of 2, you have a transistor. You can use 2 N-type semiconductors with a P-type in the middle, or 2 P-types with an N-type in the middle. The most commonly used type is 2 N-types and 1 P-type, as it is easiest to use this format in a silicon sheet to make a chip. A transistor normally blocks the flow of electricity through it, acting as a switch. However, when you apply voltage to the center layer, a large amount of voltage can move through the transistor, making it act as an amplifier. A small current can turn a larger current on and off. As you can see, the phospholipids of the cell membrane act like a transistor and a microprocessor. Microprocessor. A piece of silicon that can hold thousands of transistors is called a silicon chip. With transistors acting as switches, you can create Boolean gates, and with Boolean gates, you can create microprocessor chips. For an excellent discussion of LCDs and transistors, see http://www.howstuffworks.com/LCD1. HTM. The peripheral cytoskeleton and Tesla's resonating circuits. In 1895, Nikola Tesla invented the tuned circuit or resonating circuit. It is a capacitor and a coil wired in parallel. Wired in parallel means that the components are on a square as you see in the diagram. Capacitors, abbreviated as C, store electrons. Coils provide inductance, abbreviated as L, and create a magnetic field. This is known as an LC circuit. Parallel tuned circuits are used in radio and other electronics to couple resonant energy from one circuit to another in transmitters and receivers. This is the system used by the cell membrane and peripheral cytoskeleton to couple energy from the cell and into the cell. As you will recall, the cell membrane is made up of 2 opposing layers of fat molecules that create a capacitor. Just under the cell membrane is a maze of protein called the peripheral cytoskeleton. These 2 are wired together in parallel in what is known as an RC circuit, or a resistor/capacitor circuit. RC circuits work much like your checking account and savings account. In the photo, assume cash is coming into the top of the circuit, the resistor is your checkbook, and the capacitor is your savings account. As the cash comes in, it flows through your checking account to pay your bills. Any cash left over is transferred into your savings account. On months where there isn't enough cash coming in to pay your bills, you take some out of savings and transfer it into your checking account to keep things going. So it is with an RC circuit. Electrons come into the circuit and flow through the resistor, peripheral cytoskeleton of the cell, to keep energy flowing into the cell so it can do its work. When there are more electrons being delivered by the perineural system, the acupuncture system, water or ionic transfer, to name a few, than are needed to supply the requirements of the cell, the excess is stored in the capacitor, cell membrane. When the cell is inflamed, delivery of more electrons is reduced because the cell becomes somewhat isolated from the delivery systems by the edema. Thus, the cell must operate on the electrons stored in the cell membrane. This is the same as running on battery power. Thus, you see that the control of voltage into the cell is controlled by a Tesla RC circuit. A series-tuned circuit is used to electrically stretch or shorten an antenna or waveguide transmission line so that the length of the antenna or waveguide will match the length of the incoming wave. For example, radio stations each put out a different frequency or wavelength. If you have a wire that is exactly the same length, the energy from the radio signal will be absorbed, and you will hear that station on your radio. Thus, to hear all the radio stations in your area, you would need a separate wire for each station to match the wire lengths and wavelengths. However, if you attach your wire to the series coil above and make the capacitor variable in power, it changes the effective length of the wire. That is the tuning knob on your radio. In the body, extracellular fluid, impedance, and organs, capacitance, are wired in series as a series-tuned circuit. We now see that the cell membrane is the brain of the cell. It is a capacitor that stores voltage for the cell to use. It is a microprocessor that controls the functions of the cell by interacting with the environment around the cell. It is a liquid crystal that can open and close to allow things to enter the cell or keep them out, and also allow things to exit the cell or keep them in. It is part of a Tesla resonating circuit that allows it to communicate with other cells. Remember that every cell is designed to run at about a negative 20 to 25 MV. When cells need to repair themselves, the voltage is increased to 50 MV. This is controlled by the cell membrane/peripheral cytoskeleton resonating circuit. Since the electrons necessary to allow this to happen are stored in the fat of the cell membrane, the fat is critical to the cell being able to do its work at 20 MV, and to repair itself at 50 MV. Without an adequate amount of good fat, the cell membranes can't function, and thus, the cell can't function. You must also remember that cells replace themselves frequently. If you don't give the cell new building materials, including adequate amounts of good fat, the cells will have to make new cells with materials from the worn out cell it is replacing. Building new things using worn out parts creates a new thing that doesn't work much better than the old one it is replacing. There is no text on this page. As you can see, cell membranes must be made with good phospholipids, fats, for them to work. Making them with plastic fats, trans fats, prevents this from working correctly. Since all of the brain and nervous system, the liver, and every cell membrane are made of fat, you must eat lots of good fat to keep making good cells. A normal person is about 20 to 25% fat. That means you need to eat about 20 to 25% of your normal body weight in fat every 8 months because your body completely replaces itself every 8 months. Measuring cell membranes. We can measure the function of cell membranes using a device called the Biological Impedance Analysis Device, BIA. This device is in widespread use in every physiology department in the world. It gives us a measurement called phase angle that can suggest to us if you are made of plastic fat. ATP/ADP. We have been discussing the storage of electrons by the cells. We have discussed how cell membranes are primary capacitors to store electrons for use by the cells. This voltage is used primarily to control the electronic circuitry of the cell membrane since it functions as a semiconductor, a diode, a transistor, and a microprocessor. Inside the cell, we have another electron storage system known as ATP/ADP. This rechargeable battery system is used to make many of the cell's chemical functions work. Remember that when oxygen is available, we make 38 molecules of ATP from 1 unit of fatty acids, but when oxygen is unavailable, we only make 2. This inability to provide electrons for critical chemical pathways of the cell is part of chronic illness. Acupuncture, the forgotten and misunderstood power pack. We have discussed the electronics of the cell. In the next chapter, we will discuss the portable battery pack that keeps it all going. There is no text on this page. Anatomical images in this book were created with the Essential Anatomy app and published with permission. 3d4medical.com 15633, Rising River Place, North San Diego, California, 92127. Tenant muscle batteries. The acupuncture system. Fascia. Fascia is that shiny sheath that you see around all the muscles when you carve a turkey. It has a wide band that goes up the center of the back, over the skull, and down the front of the body. It then connects right and left to stockings of fascia that surround each muscle. From there, connections are made to bags of fascia that surround each organ. Continuing on, tiny fibers travel down to each cluster of cells. Thus, the fascia forms the wiring system of the body, connecting the central wire to every cell in the body. Traditional teaching only views fascia as a structural element, holding the body together like the rafters in your home. However, we will see that it is much more than that. The following study looks at the composition of the fascia. Acta Biochempol. 2012, 59, 4, 531-5. EPUB 2012 November 19. Chemical composition of human and canine fascia lata. Maximowis K1, Maris K, Zotek S, Kalinski K, Sirwai, Lukomsky R, Chigala J. The facial system is an integral part of the musculoskeletal system. It is a three-dimensional network of connective tissue spreading ubiquitously throughout the body, surrounding muscles, bones, internal organs, nerves, vessels, and other structures. The basic biophysical properties of the facial system are determined by its structure and chemical composition. This study aimed to determine the elemental composition of pathologically unchanged fascia lata of the thigh, collected during autopsies on humans and dogs. The wide spectrum of elements analyzed included both macro and micro elements. The analyses were conducted using scanning electron microscopy with X-ray microanalysis, SEM, EDS. Concentrations of the following macro and micro elements were determined: C, N, O, Na, Mg, Al, Si, P, S, Cl, K, Ca, Ti, Faco, Ni, Cu, and Zn. The obtained results showed significant differences between human and canine fascia lata regarding the content of most of the examined elements, P0.05, except for N. These data may in future provide a starting point for the establishment of reference values for the content of various elements in normal facial tissue and may also serve to verify the usefulness of experimental animal material as a substitute for human tissue. Several authors, including Oshman, Chen, Li, Rauscher, and Myers, have written about how the fascia functions as a semiconductor. Remember that semiconductors are molecules that have extra electrons and can move them at the speed of light, but only in one direction. Thus, the fascia is the wiring system of the body. In Healing is Voltage, the handbook, I made the assumption that the muscles of the body were. In Healing is Voltage, the handbook, I made the assumption that the muscles of the body were wired in series, and that the cumulative power of the muscles supplied all of the cells in the body. I now believe I was wrong. Helene Langevin, MD, is a research assistant professor of neurology at the University of Vermont School of Medicine. She and her colleagues published a seminal article about acupuncture meridians, The Anatomical Record, Volume 269, Issue 6, 2002, pp. 257 to 265. Relationship of acupuncture points and meridians to connective tissue planes. Helene M. Langevin, Jason A. Yandau. Acupuncture meridians traditionally are believed to constitute channels connecting the surface of the body to internal organs. We hypothesize that the network of acupuncture points and meridians can be viewed as a representation of the network formed by interstitial connective tissue. This hypothesis is supported by ultrasound images showing connective tissue cleavage planes at acupuncture points in normal human subjects. To test this hypothesis, we mapped acupuncture points in serial gross anatomical sections through the human arm. We found an 80% correspondence between the sites of acupuncture points and the location of muscular or intramuscular connective tissue planes in postmortem tissue sections. We propose that the anatomical relationship of acupuncture points and meridians to connective tissue planes is relevant to acupuncture's mechanism of action and suggests a potentially important integrative role for interstitial connective tissue. Thus, Langevin and colleagues suggested that the acupuncture system contains the facial planes of the body. Anatomy trains Thomas Myers is a massage therapist with access to cadavers. Most anatomical dissection is done with a sharp scalpel. Myers dissected cadavers with blunt dissections showing that the facial stockings of certain muscles were continuous from the foot to the area of the head. He published his work in the book Anatomy Trains. Myers soon realized that the dissections he accomplished resembled acupuncture meridians. However, his dissections did not address all 12 primary meridians, did not extend them into the brain, and did not always follow the pathways of meridians that have been taught for hundreds of years. The images represent the muscle/fascia that Myers found similar to the gallbladder meridian and the bladder meridian. Bioterminals. The acupuncture system's origins are over 5,000 years old, long before there was a clear understanding of anatomy and physiology. For example, there is no brain or nervous system in acupuncture theory. Another system that is over 5,000 years old is the Vedas and the concept of chakras. In this system, it is believed that there are energy spheres in the body that connect to the universe. Disease results when these energy spheres, called chakras, spin incorrectly. Chakras, as described above, are energy centers along the spine located at major branches of the human nervous system, beginning at the base of the spinal column and moving upward to the top of the skull. Note, there is some difference in naming of the chakras versus that of acupuncture. For example, the root chakra is the location of the liver meridian, the spleen chakra is the location of the bladder meridian, and the solar plexus is the location of the stomach meridian. Chakras are considered to be a point or nexus of biophysical energy or prana of the human body. Shumsky states that, prana is the basic component of your subtle body, your energy field, and the entire chakra system, the key to life and source of energy in the universe. The following 7 primary chakras are commonly described. Wikipedia. 1. Muladhara, Sanskrit, Muladhara, base or root chakra, last bone in spinal cord, or coccyx. 2. Swadhisthana, Sanskrit, Sthana, sacral chakra, ovaries/prostate. 3. Manipura, Sanskrit, Mapur, solar plexus chakra, navel area. 4. Anahata, Sanskrit, Anahata, heart chakra, heart area. 5. Vishuddha, Sanskrit, Visuddha, throat chakra, throat and neck area. 6. Ajna, Sanskrit, Ajna, brow or third eye chakra, pineal gland or third eye. 7. Sahasrara, Sanskrit, Sahasrara, crown chakra, top of the head, soft spot of a newborn. Wikipedia. I found it difficult to believe that the body contained different systems that were not working together. As I continued to study various acupuncture texts, it became apparent to me that there were spots on the primary acupuncture circuits, governor and conception meridians, where multiple meridians crossed. These points corresponded closely to the locations described for many of the chakras. Understanding that the acupuncture system is the same as the fascia system, I noted that the location of crossing points of the fascia were the same as some of the Jinshin/Murai points seen in the graphic with the numbers. This will be discussed in another chapter. Further examination of these facts led to the understanding that there is a primary cable that carries voltage up the back and down the front of the body. Also, there is a central terminal for each region of the body on that cable that sends voltage to every organ in that region. For example, there are points on the front and back of the skull that send voltage first to the right and left of the skull, and then to each organ in the skull. The central terminal corresponds to what is classically called the third eye chakra. The lateral terminals correspond to what the Jinshin/Murai system calls energy spheres 20, and acupuncture calls gallbladder 14, GB14. I began to call these switching points on the primary meridians switching terminals or bioterminals registered. I felt they needed a different name because they are close to, but not the same as, chakra positions. Thus, there is a central bioterminal in front and back of the skull for all the organs in the skull. There is a similar pair for the neck, chest, abdomen, pelvis, and on top of the skull with its pair in the perineum. There are lateral bioterminals to serve the right and left sides in each region of the body. These will be shown in the following graphics of the muscle batteries. Now we have an easy way to determine the voltages of the organs in each region of the body. Let's say that you have pneumonia. You will certainly have low voltage in the chest bioterminal. It may be front, or back, or both. If you have stomach ulcers, you will have low voltage in the abdomen bioterminal. It can be on the left, or the right, or both. I mentioned that I believed that the muscles of the body were wired in series like one large battery that supplied the voltage needed to make all the organs work. However, I would see patients that would have low voltage in only a single circuit, meridian. It became apparent that I was incorrect in assuming that all the muscle batteries were wired in series into one large battery. Rather, specific stacks of muscle batteries with their facial wires were stacked like batteries in a flashlight to supply voltage to each organ. Robert Becker, in his book The Body Electric, discussed that the acupuncture system moved electrons from place to place. As I began to discuss the concept of muscle batteries, several people suggested various books for me to read. The first was Anatomy Trains that I discussed here. I was also referred to Dao of Chinese Medicine, the Yellow Emperor's Book of Acupuncture, and Wind in the Blood, Mayan Healing and Chinese Medicine. Each of these books mentioned a relationship between acupuncture and muscles, but none discussed the concept of muscles being the same as acupuncture meridians, nor the concept of being rechargeable batteries. For that, I had to attempt to consolidate what previous authors had published with my concept of acupuncture meridians being the actual power supply for each organ. The next effort was to identify which muscles belong to each power supply. Thomas Myers's work was a starting place, but some of his facial systems did not follow traditional meridian pathways. In addition, he did not describe all 12 primary meridians. However, I began with his work and used my standard acupuncture books, along with the Essential Anatomy app, 3d4medical.com, LLC, to identify the muscles that seemed to follow the paths described in the acupuncture books. The most difficult ones to identify were the deep ones. Some of the meridians are deep in the body with other muscles over them. The other difficulty was figuring out what meridians supply various parts of the brain, eye, pharynx, and endocrine glands that are not mentioned in standard acupuncture books. It is certainly likely that I have made some mistakes in this process. Remember that this is a work in progress. However, I find the concept of an individual power supply for each organ or portion of an organ extremely useful in caring for patients. For example, it has become apparent to me that the macula of the eye is on the stomach meridian, and to enable it to repair itself, one must figure out why the stomach meridian has low voltage. It has also become apparent that some of acupuncture theory is incorrect. For example, the sexual organs in both males and females are said to be on the bladder meridian in most acupuncture books. However, I began to notice that men with prostate cancer usually had normal voltage in the bladder meridian, but always have low voltage in the spleen meridian. If you will look at the spleen meridian battery system that follows, you will see that the pectineus muscle battery provides voltage for the sexual organs. There are some other issues that don't make sense. For example, the large gluteus major muscles do not have standard acupuncture meridian lines running through them in many acupuncture texts. However, it doesn't make sense that such a large battery would not be used by the body to provide voltage for an important organ. Although it would look like it should attach to the adjacent bladder meridian, I suspect it attaches to the deeper spleen meridian to provide voltage for the hungry frontal lobes of the brain. The spleen/stomach meridians provide voltage for the frontal lobes. I found another issue with acupuncture theory. In most schools of acupuncture, it is believed that illness occurs when the body is out of balance with some meridians that are too hot or too cold. What I found is that organs that measure 50 MV are in the middle of trying to heal, whereas organs that measure low voltage can't get well because they don't have the voltage to make new cells. In acupuncture and in traditional medicine, efforts are made to lower the heat. Lower the voltage, in acupuncture, and to interrupt the inflammation with steroids and other drugs in allopathic medicine. In most cases, I find this counterproductive. One should support the healing voltages to help things heal faster and to identify what toxins, damage, or infections are causing the need for healing. Low voltages are usually the result of the body trying to deal with the problem until finally it runs out of voltage and can't heal, like in chronic disease, because it doesn't have the 50 MV needed to make new cells. There is no text on this page. There is no text on this page. Tenant acupuncture muscle batteries. The following pages show an atlas of proposed acupuncture meridians that serve as muscle batteries to provide voltage for the organs attached to that circuit. Think of how your home is wired. You have a common wire coming from the pole in the street to the circuit breaker box in your garage. From the circuit breaker box, various circuits carry voltage to various rooms and outlets in your home. One wire may go to the refrigerator in the kitchen, onto a lamp in the living room, and then to a switch in the bedroom. When that circuit breaker is switched off, all of those things stop working. So it is in the body. When an acupuncture circuit goes down, the organs in that circuit don't have enough voltage to run correctly. Nor do they have the voltage needed to make new cells to keep themselves repaired. This is chronic disease. Although the acupuncture battery system appears to be the primary power supply for organs, there are backup systems so that a short in that system doesn't cause catastrophic failure of the organ in question. Robert Becker, in his book The Body Electric, noted that there is a fibrous sheath around blood vessels that carry voltage as well. In addition, there is ionic transfer of electrons via the blood. There is also some cross-connection in the acupuncture muscle system for electron sharing. You might also be confused about the naming of acupuncture points on various circuits. Remember that there are layers of muscles on top of each other, but the labels are only on the skin. For example, the lateral stomach bioterminals are at the border of the rectus abdominis muscles and the lower rib cage. If you go deeper, you will be into the gallbladder's external oblique end. Internal and external intercostal muscles. If you are using needles, you will need to know how deep to go to be in one or the other system. When you are treating electronically with the biomodulator, you will be treating both circuits. Putting the biomodulator over this area allows you to simultaneously treat the stomach, gallbladder, and liver meridians. Obviously, this is powerful and efficient. In some of the graphics, you will see a number in the circle representing the lateral bioterminals. Ignore those for now. They will be explained in the next chapter. The voltage goes up the back and down the front main cable, governor vessel, then conception vessel. The solid organs act as capacitors and are wired to the back. The hollow organs act as coils and are wired to the front. When you wire a capacitor to a coil on a square, in parallel, you create a Tesla resonating circuit. Thus, the parasympathetic system, pericardium, is always wired to the sympathetic system, triple burner, the lung to the large intestine, the heart to the small intestine, the spleen/pancreas to the stomach, the kidney to the bladder, and the liver to the gallbladder. Each Tesla circuit, acupuncture meridian pair, has a specific time of day when it repairs itself. As seen in the clock image. When it has trouble repairing itself, it makes you tired during the day and wakes you up during the night. It also causes specific emotions to become prominent. The liver, gallbladder circuit causes anger, the kidney, bladder causes fear, the spleen, stomach causes worry, the heart, small intestine causes sorrow or lack of joy, the lung, large intestine causes grief, and the sympathetic, parasympathetic causes anxiety. There are different patterns of treatment that have been proposed. The obvious one is to simply treat those with low voltage, unlike acupuncture that attempts to lower the voltage where there is excess voltage heat. Another is to follow the flow of energy up the back and down the front. Another concept is to treat in order of the acupuncture clock. Still another is to follow what is called the 5-element theory. The 5 Element theory ignores the role of the autonomic nervous system or includes it as part of the heart, small intestine circuit. Since it is the essence of the mind-body connection, is in control of all of our automatic reactions, and when in sympathetic, on mode, it causes all of our flexor muscles to contract and all of our extensor muscles to relax, I felt it should be part of the system. I have therefore proposed the 6-element theory. It is believed that wiring for the capacitors, solid organs wired to the back are the same as the yin organs, go from a hand or foot upward, and the wiring for the coils, hollow organs wired to the front are the same as yang organs, go from the organs down to a hand or foot. When this is diagrammed, it makes a triangle. When these triangles are placed in order, they take the form of a hexagon. Although this pattern is often called the Star of David because of its use by the Jewish religion, it was used before them by many other cultures, including Hinduism, Buddhism, Jainism, Sanskrit, and Muslim faith, and more recently by Christianity. The numbers relate to Jinshin Jiutsu, which will be discussed later. In the 6-element chart, the Teslas are organized as they are in the body, head, neck, chest, abdomen, pelvis, liver/gallbladder, top and bottom of spine/skull is the same as the primary Tesla that controls the rest. One theory of the order of treatment would be to treat the triangle of the star. This is similar to the concept of treating above, below, and then onto the organ of question. The following images show the stacks of muscle batteries that are the power supplies for each organ as best I have been able to identify them. Remember that I have likely made some errors in trying to correlate stacks of muscles to traditional acupuncture meridians. This is particularly true for the organs in the skull. These are not well delineated in standard acupuncture texts. I have been able to identify some of these by clinical observations. For example, those with macular disease of the eye have low voltage in the stomach meridian. Inflammation of the iris is associated with low voltage in the sympathetic/parasympathetic, TB, PC, meridians. Glaucoma and other diseases of the optic nerve and retina are associated with low voltage in the liver meridian. Thus the eye has 3 separate power supplies. It is my hope that others will measure and determine the power supply for various organs or parts of organs. For example, I don't know the power supply for Parkinson's disease. I simply haven't seen enough people with that disease to figure it out. However, this could be determined in a day in a clinic devoted to this disease by simply measuring 50 such patients and looking for the pattern. That would be very useful because most brain syndromes are caused by dental infections. If we knew the circuit involved, we could focus on the teeth in that meridian and do a better job of correcting the voltage problem associated with each illness. Sympathetic, triple burner, triple heater, Sanjiao. There is no text on this page. There is no text on this page. Parasympathetic, pericardium. There is no text on this page. There is no text on this page. There is no text on this page. Lung meridian. There is no text on this page. There is no text on this page. Large intestine meridian. There is no text on this page. 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 Heart meridian. There is no text on this page. There is no text on this page. Small intestine meridian. There is no text on this page. There is no text on this page. There is no text on this page. Spleen/pancreas meridian. There is no text on this page. 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 Note, traditional meridians do not traverse the gluteus, but it is not likely that such a large muscle would not supply power to an important organ. I propose that the gluteus is part of the spleen meridian and supplies voltage to the frontal lobes of the brain. There is no text on this page. 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 Stomach meridian. There is no text on this page. There is no text on this page. There is no text on this page. Note, the stomach bioterminals are powerful because they connect the stomach, gallbladder, kidney, bladder, liver, diaphragm, and via the intercostals to the spleen, latissimus dorsi, meridians. There is no text on this page. There is no text on this page. Kidney meridian. There is no text on this page. 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 Bladder meridian. There is no text on this page. 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 Liver meridian. There is no text on this page. 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 Liver meridian to optic nerve, glaucoma. Gallbladder meridian. There is no text on this page. 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 Nakatani and Val points. Jinshin, the first person to use electronics to measure acupuncture points, was Dr. Yoshio Nakatani. He published his work in 1951 and called it Ryodoraku. Ryo means good, do means electroconductive, and raku means line. He was apparently the first to use electrical stimulation of these points. Nakatani identified 3 sets of points: measurement, low points, sedation points for high readings, tonification points for low readings. There is no text on this page. The following year, the German physician Reinhold Wahl published similar work. However, instead of identifying a single point for an entire organ, he identified points he believed to relate to specific parts of an organ. For example, the graphic shows the points that relate to parts of the heart, not just the heart as a whole. His work has been called EAV, meaning electronic acupuncture, according to Wahl. Wahl used a device that measured impedance, as did Nakatani. It was calibrated so a maximum reading was 100 and a normal reading was 50. Readings above 50 corresponded to the concept of heat or inflammation, and below 50 corresponded to the concept of cold or degeneration. However, he found when a point reads something and then quickly dropped by 20 units, indicator drop, it was the most important sign of disease. In the previous chapter, I illustrated what I believe to be the muscle batteries that make up acupuncture meridians. If I am correct, that brings up questions about the points identified by Nakatani and Wahl. For example, the loops that make up a circuit are always close to each other, so that an ascending wire can connect with a descending wire to make the loop. These have been called logo connecting points. An example is that the sympathetic, triple burner, point is on the back of the wrist where you wear a wristwatch, and its companion, the parasympathetic point, is straight through the wrist on the palm side. This makes it possible for these to make a loop at the wrist. A problem is that the spleen point is said to be on the inside of the foot behind the big toe. Its companion is said to be on the top of the foot at the highest part. This would make it very difficult for the loop to be formed. It is said that the liver point is between the great and second toes. However, logic says this should be the stomach point instead so it can loop with the spleen point. Looking at the Tennant Muscle Battery Atlas, one can see how this mistake was made. Traditional Nakatani measurements for the stomach are made on the extensor hallucis brevis, and are likely accurate. However, when we think we are measuring liver, we are actually measuring on the extensor hallucis longus, part of the stomach system. There is no text on this page. The liver should be measured on the bottom of the great toe, a part of the flexor hallucis longus. This chapter makes recommendations for the measurement points based on the muscle pathways instead of the standard Nakatani and Val measurement points. There is no text on this page. 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 One can easily see how the looping mu points are connected except for the liver and gallbladder. Since these muscles are on the inner and outer sides of the foot, it is not so apparent. This images show how they are connected. The traditional mu points for GB and spleen are GB, 24 for GB and LV, 13 or LV, 14 for spleen. The intercostals and external oblique muscles of the GB circuit and the diaphragm and pleura of the LV circuit join here. Also these can easily join the latissimus dorsi of the SP circuit, making this a powerful point. The muscle batteries of the limbs connect to the right and left bioterminals and to the central bioterminals. From there they extend to the organs they supply. This forms a Tesla resonating circuit for each organ pair. There is no text on this page. There is no text on this page. Organ Tesla circuits, capacitor/coil. There is no text on this page. There is no text on this page. There is no text on this page. The question arises as to what points to measure when you are scanning to see if an organ has low voltage. The central bioterminal is an average of the corresponding right and left bioterminals, as a rule. However, it can be influenced by blockages ahead of it, or low voltage behind it. The right and left bioterminals can be different if something on the right or left side of the body is consuming more voltage than the power supply, corresponding muscle batteries, can give. The most common causes for this are a scar creating a short on that side and or a dental infection on that side of the body. Reading the peripheral Nakatani, Tennant, or the Val points will tell you how completely the muscle battery power supply to each organ is charged, and the demand for voltage. Also, as Val pointed out, an indicated drop, reads and then drops more than 20 points, indicates that the demand is overwhelming the battery's capability. Thus, the common timeline is that the organ needs 50 MV in order to make new cells to heal something. If it is having trouble doing so, the measurements will read high. One of two things happens: it gets the job done and goes back to normal, or it runs out of voltage because it cannot make new cells that work, and it uses more voltage than the batteries can supply. Thus, we get low readings. Thus, a quick scan of the central bioterminals gives a quick indication of the voltage in the organs. Reading the peripheral Nakatani, Tennant, or Val points will tell you if the batteries have become discharged, indicating that the organ's demand overwhelmed their available power supply. Remember that devices designed to measure the peripheral points are calibrated so that normal is 50 units, based on the ohms reading it gets with a standard applied amperage. By coincidence, normal cellular voltage is 25 MV or half the device reading, even though they are in different units. Thus, dividing the number you get with Nakatani or EAV devices gives you a close indication of the voltage. The biomodulator reads impedance with reactance and capacitance over time instead of ohms. It has been calibrated to be similar, but not always exactly the same since it is reading something different than ohms. You can't use just a voltmeter to measure these circuits because the voltage in the body is constantly pulsing and you can't get a proper endpoint. Thus, since voltage is equal to amperage multiplied by impedance, it is assumed that if the amperage is constant, voltage equals impedance, so that the impedance, ohms, reading you get is an indicator of voltage. In all of the devices, readings are obtained by passing electrons through the system and reading what comes back. This means that each time you take a reading, you are also treating. Thus, the only accurate measurement you take today is the first one. A common pattern one sees is that all of the readings on the hands are high, and all on the feet are low, or vice versa. This indicates an autonomic block at the level of the diaphragm. Another common pattern is that all of the posterior bioterminals, capacitors/solid organs/supplied by flexor muscles, are high and all of the anterior bioterminals, coils/hollow organs/supplied by the extensor muscles, are low. It can be corrected by doing the bowling ball correction discussed in Healing is Voltage, the handbook, followed by treating the sympathetic and parasympathetic points on the wrists with the biomodulator. These patients will often have adrenal fatigue and often have emotional baggage stored as magnetic fields blocking the system. Those, too, can be removed with the biomodulator. Jinshin. The history of Jinshin is unclear, but it appears to have been an ancient Japanese healing art before AD 700. It fell into obscurity until revived by Jiro Murai early in the 20th century in an effort to cure himself. Having succeeded in curing himself, he devoted his life to expanding and using it. He apparently taught his methods to a Japanese American named Mary Burmeister. She brought it to the United States in the early 1950s, and named it Jinshin Jiutsu. She has taught. The history of Jinshin is unclear, but it appears to have been an ancient Japanese healing art before AD 700. It fell into obscurity until revived by Jiro Murai early in the 20th century in an effort to cure himself. Having succeeded in curing himself, he devoted his life to expanding and using it. He apparently taught his methods to a Japanese American named Mary Burmeister. She brought it to the United States in the early 1950s, and named it Jinshin Jiutsu. She has taught others the techniques. Apparently while in Japan, ancient records of this technique were given to Glenn King. He has modified the techniques into what he calls the King method, TKM. One cannot discuss his methods, as he aggressively enforces what he considers his proprietary methods. Most of the points used in Jinshin Jiutsu are the same as the lateral bioterminals. The techniques of using them are very similar to Randolph Stone's polarity therapy. On February 26, 1890, a boy was born in Engelsberg, Austria. His name was Rudolf Botz, later to become Randolph Stone. In August 1945, he stayed up one night reading Mysticism: The Spiritual Path, Volume 11, by Lek Rajpuri. In 1948, Dr. Stone published his first book on polarity therapy, The New Energy Concept of the Healing Art. In Stone's polarity therapy and Jinshin Jiutsu, one uses one's fingers to connect these various points using the therapist's body as a biomodulator and wire to bypass what may be blockages in the flow of energy. It may also simply be a way to recharge the patient's muscle batteries. In this atlas, I have included in the circles denoting lateral bioterminals, and the numbering system used in Jinshin Jiutsu for the convenience of those using this technique. There is no text on this page. Causes of low voltage. The primary things that control voltage in cells are as follows: 1. Thyroid hormones and adrenal hormones. 2. Scars. 3. Dental infections. 4. Stuck in sympathetic, on or parasympathetic, off state. 5. Toxins that cannot be removed by liver. 6. Heavy metals. 7. Emotions, magnetic fields. 8. Infections, occur when voltage is low, make more toxins, lower voltage more, lead to more pathologic infections. 9. Sympathetic, on the automatic, nervous system is composed of two parts, sympathetic and parasympathetic. You switch into sympathetic, on/parasympathetic, off states when your body senses danger. You are chronically in this mode when you are carrying emotional baggage. The muscles that cause joints to bend are called flexors. The muscles that cause joints to straighten are called extensors. Several years ago, an Irish osteopath named Robert Boyd described the anatomical distortion of the body that often occurs. He named this pattern bowling ball syndrome and believed it was due to a displacement of the center of gravity of the skull because the sphenoid bone had moved to one side, getting stuck there. Boyd developed an osteopathic manipulation that he called cranial therapy, intended to physically move the sphenoid bone back to center, allowing the body to restore normal posture. I discovered that I could accomplish the same effect with the biomodulator and taught that for many years, including a chapter about it in Healing is Voltage, the handbook. David Lemke is a massage therapist who did research at the University of Idaho. Using electromyography, he was able to determine that the flexor muscles went into contraction, and the extensor muscles were told to relax when in sympathetic, on mode. This pattern of muscle contraction and relaxation causes the body's horizontal diaphragms to tilt. This includes the body floor of the skull, including the sphenoid bone. This is exactly the posture described by Boyd, but with a totally different explanation for its cause. Thus, I have begun to call the bowling ball syndrome the Boyd-Lemke sympathetic twist to recognize both Boyd's original description of the syndrome and Lemke's correct description of why it occurs. It is simply the result of being stuck in sympathetic, on mode and not due to trauma per se. It should be obvious that if you recharge your muscle batteries by moving them and yet your nervous system is telling half of your muscles to be in spasm and half of them to relax, your recharging system is compromised. Thus, being stuck in sympathetic, on mode causes low voltage. Being stuck in sympathetic, on state also causes adrenal fatigue. Loss of adrenaline causes thyroid hormone not to function normally, which leads to more loss of voltage. This also causes insomnia. With more loss of voltage. The correction I found for it is to insert voltage with the biomodulator into the sternocleidomastoid muscle. Correcting the Boyd-Lemke sympathetic twist gives temporary relief and helps to raise voltages. However, if a person is carrying emotional baggage, you will soon be back in sympathetic, on mode. Jara Al-Tubaik, MD, a Kuwaiti radiologist, has been taking pre- and post-therapy images. The following image shows restoration of the posture after 1 minute's therapy on each sternocleidomastoid in an infinity frequency set. Note that the left clavicle, collar bone, is low before treatment and level afterward. Emotions are magnetic fields. Most people have heard of the mind-body connection, but few can tell you what causes it. However, the Chinese acupuncture literature has assigned emotions to certain acupuncture meridians for years, if not hundreds of years. Emotion meridian: anger, liver/gallbladder; fear, kidney/bladder; worry, spleen; pancreas/stomach; sorrow, heart/small intestine; grief, lung/large intestine; anxiety, sympathetic/parasympathetic. When you have a traumatic emotion, it gets stored in one of the Tesla circuits, bioterminals. Depending on its nature, it can be stored in more than one Tesla bioterminal. For example, it is common to find both anger and fear stored in both liver, gallbladder and kidney, bladder. Identifying the age of the person when the emotion occurred is often helpful in remembering it. Often emotions are like computer viruses, you are not aware they are there, but they consume RAM and slow down your computer. So it is with emotions. They consume your thoughts and memory without you knowing it, and cause your brain and circuits to malfunction. Such emotions can be erased without erasing the memories associated with them. If you simply think about the bad things while running the appropriate bioterminal frequencies in the biomodulator, the emotion will be erased in about 3 to 5 minutes. Scars. Remember that fibrous tissue in the body acts like copper wires. When you put a scar, fibrous tissue, in contact with the fascia, it creates a ground or short that drains off voltage. When you touch a scar that is causing a short, it makes the whole body go weak. Tattoos act like scars and short out your circuits. In the image, you can see that a scar on the leg, abdomen, or breast can short out the stomach meridian since all of these are on the same circuit of muscle batteries. Scars can easily be corrected using the biomodulator and its biotransducer attachment. Dental infections. Perhaps the most powerful and yet least appreciated cause of illness is dental infections. As you can see on an accompanying page, all acupuncture Tesla circuits go through specific teeth. When a tooth and slash or the bone around it become infected, the toxins are such strong electron stealers that they drop the voltage in the associated circuits. So severe is the loss of voltage that an infected tooth is almost like a circuit breaker. It is likely that these toxins actually reverse the polarity of the muscle batteries since cancer occurs at plus 30 MV, and it is extremely rare to find a cancer that does not have an infected tooth in the same circuit. Worst of all are root canals. One performs a root canal by ripping out the artery and nerve of the tooth and killing it. The dentists are the only physicians that believe you can get away with leaving dead tissue in the body. No other doctor believes that. Indeed, dead bone is greatly feared by orthopedic surgeons, as it leads to generalized sepsis and even death. So it is with dead teeth. Which power supplies have low voltage? When someone has a chronic disease, you should ask the question, what circuit is associated with this symptom? Then you must ask, what is causing that circuit or those circuits to have low voltage? Therein lies the answer to getting them well. Of course, you must remember that you also have to deal with nutrition so they have everything to make new cells. There is no text on this page. Let's look at a case report. A 54-year-old male begins to notice increasing fatigue and mental fog over 2 to 3 years. The following applies. Application of tenant biomodulator, microcurrent, biphasic, pulsed, dampened, begins to correct readings as symptoms resolve. Without looking for the power supplies for each of these symptoms, you would never figure out why pain in the left big toe is related to a scar in the macula of the left eye, a swollen spleen, stomach pain, a low platelet count, and so on. Certainly, one would never figure out with modern medicine that all of this was caused by a single infected tooth, number 14, in spleen/stomach meridian, and that pulling that tooth and cleaning the surrounding bone cured all of these symptoms. Oh. The patient was me, Jerry Tennant, MD, H, PSCD. There is no text on this page. There is no text on this page. Tennant biomodulator registered PEMF device frequency selective microcurrent trademark FDA class 2, 510K, both measures and corrects voltage, contains frequencies that are unique and those common to other more expensive devices. Programmable Tennant biomodulator copyright and lateral bioterminals copyright. If we are to concern ourselves with voltage, we need a method to do so. The first to use electronics to measure acupuncture meridian was Dr. Nakatani. At about the same time, Dr. Val was also measuring acupuncture with electronics as previously discussed. They used an ohm meter to estimate the voltage since the pulsing of voltage prevents using a simple voltmeter. The Tennant biomodulator uses a different method of estimating voltage. It measures impedance with reactance and capacitance over time. Although the method of estimating voltage in the organs and muscle battery packs is not the most important issue, one needs a way to do so. FDA statement: the Tennant biomodulator and certain accessory electrodes are FDA listed by their distributor or manufacturer in these categories. 21 CFR 882. 5890 Neurology transcutaneous electrical nerve stimulator for pain relief. 21 CFR 882.5050 Neurology biofeedback device. Indications for use: A. Symptomatic relief and management of chronic, intractable pain. B. Adjunctive treatment in the management of post-traumatic surgical and post-traumatic pain. C. Relaxation training and muscle relaxation. For more information, see www.senergy.us. Using the biomodulator. The use of the biomodulator and its accessories is beyond the goal of this book. Information about its use is available from the distributor, Synergy Medical Group. The information that I wish to transmit with this book is that whenever there is a symptom, one must ask the question, what is the power supply for that symptom? Once you identify the power supply, you will want to know if that symptom is due to the body's efforts to heal itself, in which case the voltage will measure 50 MV, or if the symptom is the result of the body being unable to make new cells to repair itself. In that case, the voltage will measure less than 25 MV. Thus, one needs the ability to measure the voltage. Very few PEMF devices have both the ability to measure as well as emit pulsed electromagnetic fields. By delivering a range of frequencies, the body has the ability to select the proper ones it needs. This frequency-selective microcurrent trademark is important since each organ runs at a different frequency. Thus, the device takes the guesswork out of what frequencies to use for a broad range of symptoms. Tenant biotransducer. The tenant biotransducer attachment to the tenant biomodulator has the ability to deliver the PEMF modulated onto a magnetic field. It appears that this allows voltage and frequency correction to be delivered directly to the cells, whereas interacting with the bioterminals recharges the muscle acupuncture batteries. For example, say you have pain over your gallbladder. You will want to know if the gallbladder is inflamed or unable to function. You will put the biomodulator into the read mode, assess, and read the voltage of the gallbladder circuit, on the foot's Nakatani or Val points, at the hairline just lateral to the midline, or just below the rib cage on the midclavicular line on the right. In any case, you will want to put voltage into the gallbladder. Use the biotransducer with the biomodulator. Biomodulator in infinity mode. Aim it toward the gallbladder. You will feel the magnetic field of the device interact with the magnetic field of the gallbladder. Continue for a few minutes, or until you feel the magnetic field of the gallbladder disappear. You will then want to recharge the battery pack to the gallbladder. Apply patches to the gallbladder bioterminals according to the image below. Run to recharge the backup power supply to the gallbladder so that when it consumes the electrons you put directly into the gallbladder with the biotransducer, it has an ongoing supply of electrons from its battery pack. You may need to do this until you correct the reason that the battery pack was discharged in the first place. This is usually until you get the infection out of your mouth, and get your thyroid levels corrected. Next, you must identify why the gallbladder's battery pack failed. Follow it from the foot up to the head, looking for a scar. If you find one, test to see if it is shorting out the circuit. If so, correct it with soreness oil and the biotransducer. Then look for an infected tooth in the gallbladder circuit. You will find those on the dental chart in the previous chapter. You will need to get blood tests to look for hypothyroidism and evaluate adrenal function. You will need to detox to get rid of toxins that destroy cells as fast as you make them and emotions that block meridians. Again, this is beyond the goal of this book. Lateral bioterminals, Jinshin energy spheres. The most efficient way to recharge the muscle batteries is to use the lateral bioterminals. Remember that the main cable, governor and conception meridians, travels up the back and down the front of the midline of the body. On this main cable are points where voltage is transferred to the right and left sides of the body for each region. I have termed these bioterminals to differentiate them from chakras. Thus, we have a central bioterminal, and right and left lateral bioterminals for the head, neck, chest, abdomen, pelvis, and the perineum to top of skull. In the images below, I have put the circle with a number in it. Number relates to Jinshin numbering system, on one side of the body so you can see the anatomy on the opposite side of the body. Don't forget that these points are the same on both sides of the body. The wire accessory for the biomodulator has plugs for 2 or 4 patches. Each pair of wires has a red and black plug. The following image shows which patch to use on the corresponding bioterminal. For example, say you have pain over your gallbladder. You will want to know if the gallbladder is inflamed or unable to function. You will put the biomodulator into the read mode, access, and read the voltage of the gallbladder circuit, on the foot's nakatani or val points or just below the rib cage on the midclavicular line on the right. In either case, you will want to put voltage into the gallbladder. Use the biotransducer registered with the biomodulator registered in infinity mode. Aim it toward the gallbladder. You will feel the magnetic field of the device interact with the magnetic field of the gallbladder. Continue until you feel the magnetic field of the gallbladder disappear or for a few minutes. You will then want to recharge the battery pack to the gallbladder. Apply patches to the gallbladder bioterminals according to the image below. Run to recharge the backup. Power supply to the gallbladder so that when it consumes the electrons you put directly into the gallbladder with the biotransducer registered, it has an ongoing supply of electrons from its battery pack. You may need to do this until you correct the reason that the battery pack was discharged in the first place. This is usually until you get the infection out of your mouth and get your thyroid levels corrected. Next you must identify why the gallbladder's battery pack failed. Follow it from the foot up to the head looking for a scar. If you find one, test to see if it is shorting out the circuit. If so, correct it with soreness oil and the biotransducer. Then look for an infected tooth in the gallbladder circuit. You will find those on the dental chart in the previous chapter. You will need to get blood tests to look for hypothyroidism and evaluate adrenal function. You will need to detox to get rid of toxins that destroy cells as fast as you make them and emotions that block meridians. Again, this is beyond the goal of this book. Lateral bioterminals registered, Jinshin energy spheres. The most efficient way to recharge the muscle batteries is to use the lateral bioterminals. Remember that the main cable, governor and conception meridians, travel up the back and down the front of the midline of the body. On this main cable are points where voltage is transferred to the right and left sides of the body for each region of the body. I have termed these bioterminals to differentiate them from chakras. Thus we have a central bioterminal registered and right and left lateral bioterminals registered for the head, neck, chest, abdomen, pelvis, and the perineum to top of skull. In the images below, I have put the circle with a number in it. Number relates to Jinshin numbering system, on one side of the body so you can see the anatomy on the opposite side of the body. Don't forget that these points are the same on both sides of the body. The wire accessory for the biomodulator has plugs for 2 or 4 patches. Each pair of wires has a red and black plug. The following image shows which patch to use on the corresponding bioterminal. There is no text on this page. To make it easier to know where to put the patch with the black wire and where to put the patch with the red wire, I have colored the circle, with the Jinshin number in it for reference, either red or black. You put the other wire on the same side on the corresponding side of the body. For example, if it shows you to put a red patch on the left side of the body, put the black patch on the same side on the right side of the body. When you do this, you are charging up the acupuncture battery pack for that circuit, meridian, and all the organs on it. Remember that even if an organ has been removed, the circuit and the other organs on the circuit are still there. So if you remove your gallbladder, that circuit still takes voltage to your ears and to the lateral side of your brain. There is no text on this page. 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 Making new cells. Chronic disease occurs when you lose the ability to make new cells that work. Making new cells requires, 50 millivolts the raw materials it takes to make cells eliminate the things that destroy cells as fast as you make them nutrition. The body is constantly wearing itself out. You get new cells in the macula of the eye every 48 hours, the lining of your gut is replaced every 3 days, your skin every 6 weeks, your liver every 8 weeks, your nervous system every 8 months, and so on. In addition, you must replace cells that are damaged from trauma or infections. Chronic disease occurs when you lose the ability to make new cells that work. That leads us to ask, what does it take to make new cells? Our cells are designed to run at 25 MV, but it takes 50 MV to make new cells. In addition, you must have all the nutrients to make cells, and you must remove any toxins that destroy cells as fast as you make them. In the past, it has been necessary to take 10 to 20 different bottles of nutrients to be sure you have everything you need. That is both a nuisance and a great expense. We have developed a system to be sure you have the nutrients you need that is less complicated and less expensive. Restore. I went through the physiology books to find all the things necessary to make cells work. I then worked with the biochemist Carrie Lynn Carter to put all of them into a powder that can be used to make a milkshake or smoothie as a breakfast substitute. My instructions were that there would be no toxic fillers, like genetically modified cornmeal and magnesium stearate, and that ingredients would be ready to use, e.g. methyl B12 instead of copper B12. Not everything could be put into Restore because some things don't store on the shelf together without damaging each other, but almost everything is present in Restore. Take a scoop of the Restore powder and mix it with 8 ounces of liquid to make the shake or smoothie. You can use raw milk, coconut milk, almond milk, or water as the liquid. Blend it with a blender, mixer, or shaker cup. You can also add things like fruit, nuts, coconut oil, or the ingredients of your choice to make a smoothie. Ingredients: 100% natural, organic whey isolate, easier for patients with dairy intolerances, fat-free. Most protein, gram for gram. Research shows a reduction in the levels of ghrelin, the hormone that tells the brain you are hungry, up to 4 hours after consumption. It helps reduce body fat and retain and build lean muscle. It raises glutathione levels, levels of cysteine, glutamine, and glycine, which are master antioxidants important in immune health. Vitamin C. Whole food vitamin C is derived from camu and acerola, not from genetically modified corn sugar. Natural B vitamins necessary for optimal energy production, stress and mood management, brain function, blood cell creation, heart health, and much more. These powerful vitamins are constantly in motion in your body. B. Complex vitamins include 8 individual B vitamins identified to work together as a team or a complex in your body. Natural B vitamins are very important. Vitamin B1 and thiamine. Thiamine synthesized in a laboratory is a solid salt, such as thiamine hydrochloride or thiamine mononitrate. Made from diamine, a coal tar derivative, and processed with ammonia and other chemicals. No thiamine hydrochloride, often listed as thiamine HCl, or thiamine mononitrate, is naturally found in food or the body. Thiamine hydrochloride is found in many supplements, and thiamine mononitrate is in most bakery products. Thiamine pyrophosphate is the predominant form of vitamin B1 found naturally in the body. It is the biologically active and cell-ready form. Legumes are excellent food sources of natural thiamine. Thiamine pyrophosphate is the type of vitamin B1 you receive in the Restore product. Thiamine pyrophosphate is from whole foods and from whole food derivatives to achieve the levels needed. Vitamins D2 and K2. Vitamin D3 promotes calcium absorption and calcium transport to bones. Recent studies indicate that vitamin D3 may support healthy insulin action and glucose metabolism, and may have a positive impact on immune function. Vitamin K2, likewise, is beneficial in the areas of bone and cardiovascular health. Vitamin K is critical for the formation of healthy, strong bone matrix. Bone quality is dependent on the presence of adequate vitamin K. Vitamin K's role in arterial health revolves around its ability to support proper calcium metabolism in vascular structures. Vitamin K2 is the most biologically active form of vitamin K. Stabilized glutathione, master antioxidant. Most products use precursors for glutathione. Other ingredients, of course, assist to help promote intracellular glutathione production. Acetylglutathione, SAG, is stable through the GI tract without typical degradation to its amino acids. Studies show increased intracellular glutathione after supplementation with their SAG, and had a positive effect on many oxidative stress biomarkers. Precursors: glutamine, glycine, cysteine. The cells in your intestinal tract use glutathione to try to eliminate the chemical preservatives, pesticides, and countless other toxins you ingest before they are transported throughout your body. The liver cells use glutathione as their detergent to detoxify your blood. Your eye and skin cells use glutathione to protect themselves against radiation. Glutathione helps your body defend against oxidative stress, which has been associated with more than 74 major diseases and disorders. Alpha-lipoic acid, ALA, increases the formation of glutathione. ALA is also an antioxidant, a substance that neutralizes free radicals. What makes ALA unique is that it functions in water and fat, unlike the more common antioxidants vitamin C and vitamin E, and it appears to be able to recycle antioxidants such as vitamin C and glutathione after they have been used up. Glutathione is an important antioxidant that helps the body eliminate potentially harmful substances. Betaine and same betaine powder is a metabolic agent. It works by decreasing blood levels of homocysteine. Adenosyl, methionine, same, a master methylator, is an amino acid derivative normally synthesized in the body. Same is used by the body in three important pathways: methylation, contributing methyl groups to activate certain molecules, especially neurotransmitters, the synthesis of polyamines, for cell growth, gene expression, neuronal regeneration, etc. And sulfuration, synthesis of cysteine, glutathione, and other sulfate chemicals. Same should not be taken by those diagnosed with bipolar disorder. Colostrum. The most important components of colostrum can be broken down into three major categories: immune system factors, growth factors, nutritional components. Proline, rich polypeptides, PRPs, act systemically, modulating the complex immune system, and are therefore the most important ingredient in colostrum. Peptides are short chains of amino acids, the building blocks of proteins without the complex tertiary structure of proteins. Prolineric polypeptides, so called because they contain an unusually high proportion of the amino acid proline, are intercellular signaling molecules that have the unique ability to modulate the immune system, turning it up when needed or turning it down when it is overactive. Immunomodulating cholesterol peptides appear under various names in literature, including transfer factor, cholestrinin, and PRPs. They work as hormones that regulate the thymus gland, body's central command for the immune system, stimulating an underactive immune system or down, regulating an overactive immune system. Immunoglobulins, IgG, IgA, IgE, IgM, IgD. The function of these immunoglobulins, antibodies, is as follows: IgG, predominant immunoglobulin in bovine milk. Colostrum, primary function is to identify and help destroy invading pathogenic microbes. IgA, predominant immunoglobulin in human milk. And colostrum, primary role is as first line of defense, protects mucosal surfaces and prevents the attachment of pathogens to them. IgM, primary role is first to fight, enhances phagocytosis by destroying invading pathogens. IgE, involved with the allergic reaction and histamine, associated allergic reaction, also involved with active defense against enteric parasites. IgD, attached to B cells, it stimulates lymphocytes to produce antibodies by presenting antigens to them. Laboratory analyses of both immune and growth factors from bovine colostrum indicate that they are identical to those found in human colostrum, except for the fact that the levels of these factors are significantly higher in the bovine version. Bovine colostrum is actually 40 times richer in immune factors than human colostrum. For example, human colostrum contains 2% of IgG, immunoglobulin G, while cow colostrum contains 86% of IgG, the most important of the immunoglobulins found in the body. Local protection in the form of immune supplementation with bovine milk antibodies has been shown to be an effective means of providing local protection to the GI tract. Immune factors PRPs immunoglobulins lactoferrin. Transferrin cytokines lysozymes enzymes lactalbumin glycoproteins others lactoferrin. Lactoferrin is an iron-binding protein that helps deprive bacteria of the iron they require to reproduce and releases iron into the red blood cells, enhancing oxygenation of tissues. Lactoferrin modulates cytokine release and its receptors have been found on most immune cells, including lymphocytes, monocytes, macrophages, and platelets. Alpha, lactalbumin and beta, lactoglobulin these are the major nutritional whey proteins in milk and colostrum. Cytokines are small proteins that are secreted by specific cells of the immune system. They are a category of signaling molecules that are used extensively in cellular communication. They are proteins, peptides, or glycoproteins. Lysozymes can help support the immune system. Enzymes lactoperidase, thiocyanate, peroxidase, and xanthine oxidase oxidize bacteria through their ability to release hydrogen peroxide. Glycoproteins are digestive factors that have been shown to help immune and growth factors survive the passage through the highly acidic digestive system. Growth factors. Colostrum contains many growth factors. Growth factors are peptides that function as intercellular signaling molecules to turn on or turn off the production of specific proteins in the target cells. Their presence in colostrum is primarily to complete the growth and development of the newborn gut, but in older children and adults, they help support a healthy gut wall. Nutritional components, vitamins, minerals, amino acids, and essential oils. Colostrum is a combination of vitamins, minerals, and amino acids that are naturally occurring. Vitamins A, B1, B2, B6, B12, and E are found in small amounts, while traces of all other vitamins, as well as minerals such as calcium, sodium, magnesium, and zinc, are also present in colostrum. Colostrum is a rich source of both essential and non-essential amino acids, as well as essential fats, including phospholipids, which enable cholesterol protein protection and easy absorption into the gut by forming liposomes around them. NADH. NADH, reduced nicotinamide adenine dinucleotide, is the metabolically active form of vitamin B3, also known as niacin. NADH is essential for the production of cellular energy, ATP, from glucose and fat. Therefore, the more NADH a cell has available, the more energy it has available to operate with efficiency. NADH is also directly involved in neurotransmitter production, the maintenance of genetic integrity, and the support of healthy immunity. Although NADH is normally unstable outside of the body, pan-MOL, NADH, uses a patented process to naturally preserve its effectiveness, thereby delivering stable and bioavailable NADH to the body. Malic acid energy production. Malic acid, sometimes known as the apple acid, helps the body make ATP more efficiently. ATP is the body's primary form of energy currency. The hydrolysis of ATP to ADP and phosphate is the predominant reaction used to create energy for physiological processes. Thus, generation of ATP is the central goal of energy production. Supplemental malic acid has been shown in research studies to increase the amount of malate in mitochondria, and thus, increase the energy production capacity of the cell. Malic acid and magnesium can work in conjunction with one another to support healthy joint and immune function. Studies show that malic acid and magnesium supplements can have positive effects on reducing pain and increasing energy. Pregnenolone memory and adrenal support. Pregnenolone is a precursor hormone synthesized from cholesterol, principally in the adrenal glands, including DHEA, progesterone, testosterone, the estrogens, and cortisol. Despite its powerful metabolites, pregnenolone is acknowledged to be without significant side effects, with minimal or no anabolic, estrogenic, or androgenic activity. Pregnenolone has been found to be 100 times more effective for memory enhancement than other steroids or steroid precursors in laboratory mice. Pregnenolone appears to be the most potent memory enhancer yet reported in animals. Pregnenolone has been reported to not only make people smarter, but happier, and enhance one's ability to perform on the job while heightening feelings of well-being. Pregnenolone has also been reported to reduce high stress-induced fatigue. It reverses immune suppression caused by excess cortisol levels, thereby improving resistance against viruses, bacteria, and Candida albicans, parasites, allergies, and cancer. Further benefits include stress reduction, increased resistance to effects of stress, and improvement of mood and energy. NALTN, acetyl, L-tyrosine. More adrenal support. This is more rapidly absorbed in the bioavailable form of the amino acid L-tyrosine. It is converted in the body to key biologic compounds, is less prone to urinary excretion, and converts to epinephrine, dopamine, L-dopa, CoQ10, thyroid hormones, and melanin. B6 and folate are needed to assist in the conversion processes. According to the University of Maryland Medical Center, tyrosine plays an important role in the production of epinephrine and norepinephrine, two hormones that regulate your stress response. When you are under stress, your body may not be able to synthesize enough tyrosine naturally, which may cause a tyrosine deficiency. Supplementation with additional tyrosine, such as in the form of N-acetyl L-tyrosine, may help improve performance and memory when you are under psychological stress. Inositol helps support the cardiovascular and nervous systems. It supports healthy cell membrane integrity, normal cell membrane signaling, and the normal processing of fats in the liver. Sunflower lecithin fatty acids and phospholipids. Phosphatidylcholine is the most abundant phospholipid in the cell membrane. It also naturally abounds in phosphatidylinositol, phosphatidylethynolamine, and essential fatty acids. Lecithin is critical in supporting cell membranes and nervous tissue, including the brain, nerves, and spinal cord, and contributes to fat processing within the body. Phosphatidylcholine, phosphatidylinositol, phosphatidylethynolamine, and linoleic acid are key components of lecithin that can benefit cognitive, nervous system, and stress disorders, as well as lower lipids to improve cardiovascular health. Linoleic acid alpha, linoleic acid, ALA, is the omega-3 found in power seeds such as chia, hemp, and flax, as well as other sources, such as English walnuts and some fruits and vegetables. ALA is the omega-3 that you get from plant sources. Most of the cells in the body use iodine to move secretions that they make from inside the cell to outside the cell. If you don't have enough iodine, you form cysts in your thyroid, breasts, ovaries, testicles, and so on. It is also the first line of defense of your immune system. Adults should take 1 capsule a day along with the Restore Shake/Smoothie. We could not put it into the Restore because, over time, it would interact with some of the elements in Restore. In addition to iodine and potassium iodide, our product contains fulvic acid to help it absorb, along with selenium, zinc, vitamin C, and thiamine to help it make stomach acid and be properly used by the thyroid. There is no text on this page. Raw materials. Raw materials contains 10 organic liquid vitamins, over 70, 4 organic ionic minerals and elements, and 18 amino acids. It is a blend of humic acids, fulvic acids, and marine phytoplankton from Vancouver Island. Raw materials provides vitamins and minerals and controls their entry into the cell. It also is involved in getting rid of toxins in the body. Many people begin to detox when they start taking raw materials. Therefore, we suggest you begin with the liquid so you can slowly increase the amount you take as your body detoxes. You can add it to your Restore shake/smoothie. Start with 1 teaspoonful. Increase by 1 teaspoonful daily until you can take 1 to 2 ounces, 2 to 4 tablespoons, per day without any increase in fatigue. Once you are at that level, you can use the maintenance dose of 1 tablespoon per day. After you get to maintenance dose, you may continue to use the liquid, or you may switch and take 2 capsules of raw materials per day. Shipping the gallon jugs of raw materials is expensive. If you need to have it shipped, it is available in concentrate. You will need to add 2 bottles of the concentrate to a gallon container and add pure water to make the gallon. Digest Rx. Most people cannot adequately digest whatever diet they eat because they don't have stomach. Stomach acid to break down proteins in the stomach. Many don't have a gallbladder to supply the necessary bile to digest fats. Digest Rx contains 27 digestive enzymes to be sure you can digest your food. You should take 1 to 3 capsules with each meal for about 4 months after you start the program. You may continue them longer, but you may find that you start making your own enzymes after taking Restore, iodine, and raw materials for a few months. If you don't have a gallbladder, you will have to take them with every meal forever. Taking large doses of digestive enzymes has been reported by John Beard, William Kelly, and Nicholas Gonzalez to inhibit the growth of tumors. They recommend taking 6 tablets with each meal and at bedtime until you get a fever that lasts about 3 days. Jara Al-Tubaik, MD, has shown that similar doses of these digestive enzymes can also dissolve internal scars. There is no text on this page. Nitric oxide. Nitric oxide is the master hormone of the body. As you can see in the image, it controls many of the body's functions. The most obvious one is that it controls our circulation and thus, our ability to get oxygen and nutrients to our cells. Our ability to make nitric oxide falls off rapidly with age. AMA references, Taddy et al. Hypertension 2001, Agashira et al. Circulation 1993, Seelermajer et al. JACC 1994, Gerhard et al. Hypertension 1996. There are many reasons for this decrease in nitric oxide. One is that many pharmaceuticals inhibit the production of nitric oxide. Included in this list are drugs that block the production of stomach acid, common pain medications like aspirin, naproxen, Aleve, and ibuprofen, Advil, Motrin, and antiseptic mouthwashes. It has also been shown that nitric oxide deficiency plays a significant role in the development of diabetes, obesity, hypertension, and elevated blood fats, metabolic syndrome. BRJ Pharmacol. 2014 October 8. doi, 10.1111/BPH. 12960. EPUB ahead of print. Cardiac nitric oxide signaling in metabolic syndrome. Peshanova 01, Vargas E, Sebova M, Giras Z, Patcher P. Ferdinandi P. One cannot correct this problem with L-arginine or L-citrulline. In people with dysfunction of the endothelium of their arteries, giving these amino acids can actually increase heart attacks because they are used in the wrong pathway. It can be corrected with Neo-40. Professional strength Neo-40 is available from the manufacturer, Neogenesis. Summary: for many people, that is all you need to support your nutrition. Some, however, will need additional things based on their particular situation. For example, if you have heavy metal poisoning, like mercury poisoning, you will also need Fulvic 400X. If you have adrenal fatigue, you will need adrenal support. These are discussed below. Adrenal support. There is no text on this page. The adrenal glands are two glands in one. They must be considered separately. The outer gland makes cortisol to support blood sugar and control inflammation. It also makes aldosterone, the hormone that causes your kidneys to retain sodium and, thus, fluids. It also makes testosterone. If these are deficient, you need adrenal desiccated. If they are significantly deficient, you will need to take bioidentical cortisol, hydrocortisone, for a few weeks to allow your adrenals to recover, and then move to adrenal desiccated. There is no text on this page. One can take 1 to 3 adrenal desiccated with breakfast and with lunch. If you take too much, you will feel jittery, and you will know you need to take less. Also, monitor your early, morning blood pressure. If the upper number is over 140, don't take them. The inner adrenal glands make adrenaline. Adrenaline controls your body temperature, the bottom number of your blood pressure, the speed of your pulse, your ability to deal with stress, your ability to multitask, your memory, sexual function, and many other things. Making adrenaline requires the amino acid tyrosine, vitamin C, and vitamin B6. These nutrients, plus herbs known to support the adrenals, are present in adrenal support. You can take 1 to 3 capsules with each meal. Monitor your blood pressure. If the bottom number is over 90, reduce or stop them. Fulvic 400X heavy metals such as mercury, lead, and cadmium block the function of enzymes in your cells. Mercury has been implicated in Alzheimer's and autism, among other problems. Lead affects the nervous system, and has been associated with heart disease, as well as other things. The traditional way to attempt to remove heavy metals was with drugs, such as EDTA, DMPS, DMSA, and others. The problem is that these drugs cannot enter the cell but only can remove metals outside the cells. Since metals tend to be locked inside cells, one needs to consider something that will bring the metals outside the cells. One thing that will do that is concentrated fulvic acid. You must continue using raw materials while using Fulvic 400X because the humic acid molecules of raw materials stay in the gut, whereas the small fulvic molecules enter the cells. They deliver the metals to the humic acid, which in turn removes them from the body. You must also be sure to use the restore at the same time. Methyl B6 and methyl B12 are necessary for the process to work. Many people are deficient in these, but they are present in restore. Essential oils. Although not clearly part of nutrition, essential oils are useful in helping nutrition work. Therefore, they are added to this discussion. Essential oils correct cellular software. I gave it that name because of the similarities in how DNA tells cellular proteins what to do, much the same way as the operating system in your computer tells your hardware what to do. Just as the software in your computer can put out the wrong directions sets, a computer virus, various influences can change the frequencies that DNA sends to the proteins in the cell, making the cell malfunction. Every organ in the body runs at a different frequency. Fortunately, plants tend to run at the same frequencies as our cells. Thus, we can use the concentrated oils from plants to reset our systems, much like one might use Norton or McAfee antivirus programs to reset our computers. The trick is to match the right essential oil with the right organ. In addition to frequency matching, one must recognize that chemical types in the oils do different things. The primary components of essential oils are monoterpenes, sesquiterpenes, phenols, ketones, and alcohols. Phenolics clean the receptors on cells. This allows the sesquiterpenes to erase inaccurate information so the monoterpenes can restore the accurate information needed for the cell to work correctly. Thus, essential oils are able to correct faulty epigenetics. You can't put phenolics, sesquiterpenes, and monoterpenes in the same bottle because they will inactivate each other. Thus, one must do what is called layering. By the time you apply an oil and replace its cap, the oil has done what it is going to do. When you apply the next oil, it does not deactivate what the first oil did. In order for a user not to have to understand all of these issues when using essential oils, we developed a system that will automatically accomplish this. It is called the Tenant Bioterminal Oil System. You place 3 oil blends on the feet and 3 on the hands. The bottles are clearly marked with the hand or foot use in this order: chest, neck, head, crown, pelvis, abdomen, as you see in the graphic below. By using all 6 oils, you know you have reset the system correctly. We also have oil blends for liver cleanse, insomnia, breathing, and more. There is no text on this page. There is no text on this page. Proof of concept. Dr. Jara Al-Tubaik, a medical doctor in Kuwait, is an internist and radiologist who uses the biomodulator. He often takes images before and after treatment. Some of his images are included here with his permission and with my gratitude. Patient 1 is a female nurse complaining of a pain under the heel, plantar fasciitis. She was scheduled for an MRI today. I know the nurse. She approached me after the MRI scan for painkiller advice until she could see an orthopedic doctor. I used the biomodulator with pads to treat her for a 1-hour session, 30 minutes 10, 8 and 30 minutes infinity. She reported to me a relief of pain up to 50%. I imaged her in the MRI scan after the session to see any changes compared to the images I took before the therapy session. Her edema below the plantar fascia under the calcaneus was significantly reduced. The white MRI signal within the tissues is less. Check the attached images. There is no text on this page. Patient 2 is a nurse from the radiology department who approached me as soon as the news spread in the department that I was treating one nurse, those annoying talkative nurses. Anyway, she begged me for a pain in her ankle too, where the insertion of the Achilles tendon into the foot calcaneus bone is found. I imaged her in the MRI, and I found inflammation and bone marrow edema. The bone becomes white in MRI, at the site of the Achilles tendon insertion into the calcaneus bone. I used the biomodulator with pads to treat her for 90-minute session, 30 minutes T, 8 and 60 minutes infinity. She reported to me a relief of pain up to 30%. I switched to the biotransducer, and gave her another 30-minute session. She reported more relief. I imaged her again, and found that the bone marrow edema lessened. The bone became less white in MRI. Check the attached images. Crohn's disease, an image of classical Crohn's disease, and how the ileocecal valve is inflamed, and shows the classical radiological sign of inflammation. There is no text on this page. Scar resolution, an image of the patient with her abdominal scar. Notice the subcutaneous contrast, enhanced thick white line, representing fibrosis, which is almost 90% disappeared after 1.5 months of using enzyme therapy. Ileocecal valve syndrome, images of a different patient with ileocecal valve syndrome, showing the ileocecal and the cecum filled with fecal material, proving the fecal reflux. A 71-year-old diabetic patient with hepatitis C presented with a history of right knee osteoarthritis due to a 20-year-old fracture. The patient came limping to the radiology department to investigate his severe right-sided knee pain that hindered his gait. The initial MRI images, done in October 2014, showed severe osteoarthritis, complete cartilage loss in the medial femoral condyle, osteoarthritic changes, and marked edema in the medial femoral condyle, suspicious of Ullbach disease, spontaneous avascular necrosis of the medial femoral condyle. After discussing therapeutic options with the patient, which in his case are limited due to his medical condition and age, the option of pulsed electromagnetic frequency therapy using Tennant's biotransducer was suggested as a free-of-charge trial. The patient was treated with daily, 30 to 40-minute sessions starting in November 2014. The patient reported reduction in pain and swelling of the knee, and reduction in limping during the period of therapy. An MRI scan was repeated in December 2014 to document any difference in the MRI image, shown below. The MRI images showed almost 80 to 90% complete resolution of the medial femoral condyledema, and the normal bone marrow signal returned almost 90% to normal. The lack of significant changes in the tibia is simply because the position of the biotransducer probe was concentrated almost 1 month over the medial femoral condyle region, the focus of pain. The patient now is scheduled for another month-long therapy trial, with concentration over the tibia, and another MRI scan is scheduled for the end of December. Treating the Boyd/Lemke sympathetic twist syndrome, bowling ball syndrome. There is no text on this page. There is no text on this page. Correction of hip torsion after Boyd/Lemke sympathetic twist, bowling ball, correction. There is no text on this page. Chronic disease correct thyroid function so that FT3-IS3 to 4 support adrenals and hormones if necessary correct Boyd/Lemke sympathetic twist, bowling ball syndrome. Identify acupuncture battery pack for symptoms follow those meridians looking for scars and dental infections detox remove emotional blockages. Tenon system for chronic diseases in most forms of medicine, one tries to memorize a certain treatment for each symptom of disease. In traditional medicine, we learn that we don't use aspirin for athlete's foot, and we don't use T-Nactin for headaches. In homeopathy, we have to match the remedy to the symptom set. The same is true for aromatherapy, essential oils, and herbal medicine. In the system of medicine I am suggesting, you do the same for each symptom. You ask the question, why can't this person make new cells that work? This leads you to ask, what is the power supply for the symptom? Once you identify that acupuncture battery pack, you measure it and confirm that it is low. Then you must identify why the batteries can't hold a charge. You first look at thyroid and adrenal function since the thyroid hormone T3 partially controls the voltage of each cell membrane, and T2 controls the voltage of the mitochondria. You want blood tests to show that free T3 is between 3.0 and 4.0. If not, you will likely need to take thyroid hormone. We are finding that many who previously needed thyroid hormone no longer need it if they take Restore, described in the previous chapter. I recommend you test your free T3 about a week after you start taking Restore. Meridians and organs. If you are depressed or have bipolar syndrome, you should also check your reverse T3 as high levels of this fake hormone are often associated with those syndromes. The adrenal glands are actually two separate glands, and you must consider them separately. If you are deficient in cortisol, aldosterone, or testosterone, you will likely need adrenal desiccated. If you are deficient in adrenaline, you will need adrenal RX, adrenal support. If the systolic, top number, is below 120, you likely need adrenal RX, desiccated. If the diastolic, bottom number, is below 80, and the temperature is below 98.6, you likely need adrenal RX, support. Those with low diastolic and low body temperature are those most likely to be carrying emotional baggage. Bioidentical hormones are often needed for those past 40. Before anything else, you need to correct the Boyd-Lemke sympathetic twist, bowling ball syndrome, to restore the craniosacral pump function and balance the autonomic nervous system. Next, make a list of symptoms. Now figure out the power supply for each symptom. The meridian chart above is useful for organs. If you have local symptoms like a sore knee, a skin rash or skin cancer, or pain anywhere, you will find the app Easy Acupuncture 3D by Graphic 6 Zion is very useful. By displaying all of the acupuncture batteries as a line drawing, it makes it easy to zero in on which acupuncture batteries have failed. Then look at the images in this book to see exactly which muscles are involved. Since the muscles are wider than a line representation, you will often have a lesion or pain that doesn't seem to fall on any line but becomes apparent when looking at the muscle images. Now measure the involved muscle battery stack with assess or automatic mode in the biomodulator to confirm that the voltage is low. Remember that the biomodulator and other measurement devices like EAV and Nakatani cannot tell whether it is plus or minus, so be suspicious if you get a normal reading in a battery pack that has symptoms. It should be low or high, but a normal reading should make you suspect it has flipped polarity from minus to plus and is susceptible to forming a tumor. Finding the spot to be sticky, magnetic field present in tissue, confirms that it is low voltage. Now follow the path of the battery pack, looking for a scar. If you find one, treat it with the biotransducer and soreness essential oil. You should actually treat all scars even if they aren't yet causing symptoms they will in the future. Now measure the voltage in the teeth and record any above 100, and record any root canals or missing teeth. If they're missing, they may have left infection in the bone when they were pulled. Match the dental infections to the battery packs, meridians, that are low voltage. The most common scenario is that a scar in childhood lowers the voltage enough to inactivate the pump inside each tooth that prevents decay, and they soon get a filling. This is followed by multiple fillings, then crown, infection under a crown, root canal, and organ failure in that meridian. Cancer occurs at plus 30 MV, and the most common thing to reverse polarity in a circuit is a root canal. Make a homeopathic from the patient's urine and start a detox program. Other homeopathics may be indicated. This is beyond the goals of this book. Remove emotional blockages using the biomodulator. Explaining how to do this is beyond the goals of this book. Start the nutrition program. Get labs, particularly free T3 1 week after starting Restore, and correct any residual hypothyroidism. Desiccated thyroid always works best because it is the only one with the hormone T2. It is most reliable since there has never been an FDA recall of it for mistaken dosage, whereas there have been many recalls for levothyroxine, Synthroid, and it only contains T4. Address the symptom/organ with the biotransducer for a few minutes to recharge the cells and follow up with patches on the lateral bioterminals for the circuit that is involved to recharge that battery pack. Keep doing that until there has been time to correct the issues discussed above, and the body can start healing, making new cells. This sketch of the pattern of thinking is intended only to be an outline of the approach needed to get the body where it can make new cells to heal itself. It is recommended that you consider coming to Dr. Tennant's seminars for expanded training/explanations. The teaching schedule is at www.senergy.us. More detailed information is on Dr. Tennant's website, www.tennantinstitute.com. Remember that the body can heal almost anything if it has the things necessary to make new cells. However, a new cell cannot push a scar out of the way unless the scar has been removed with high-dose enzymes first and if there is adequate voltage to do so. Be well.